Hello, hello, and welcome to Elite Week. I hope you guys are having a good time and are ready for a party, because that's what we're going to do. I am your host, Kai Zen, and yeah, I am enjoying a few already. I hope you guys can hear me all right. Okay, let's run through the sound checks. Let's start with Commander Roy Cookson. Say hi.
Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're having a good day and glad you're with us.
Hell yes. And we also have Rear Admiral Flaps as our special guest. Say hi, Flaps.
Hello, my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. Let me just hit you with an Irish welcome. Did you hear that? No?
No.
Oh, it was about to be a beer cracking open. Sorry about that.
Ah, that's all right. And the tactical officer, the main man, the OPIX master of disaster. We got Tweaked in the house. Say hi, Tweaked.
Hello, everybody. It is Friday night in the house, and we've got some amazing things to talk about this evening.
Hell yes. Lots to go over. So we're going to do this really, really fast and get to all of the things that we got to get to. Let's say hi to the people real quick here. Let me put this chat here. Let me break this out. Pop that out. There we go. So in the chat on YouTube, we've got, let's see here. Nomadic Star, what up, brother? We got Odaxius. Sup, my nerds? Abelary, hello, hello. Good morning to you, sir. I just realized the UK brothers get out the day before. Yeah. Nolan Sester, Tweak 74, Kunder, Carl Baker, Winter Mute, what up, brother? AB, hello, hello. Stuart GT of Reddit, hi. Ivan, what up? Let's see here. Big C75, Load 200, SPH. We got Tang. Quick before it starts. Number one unanswered Odyssey question. Since we will be able to see engineers face to face, does that mean that we actually get to kill Marco Quint now, asking for a friend? Yes, that's exactly what it means. Actually, I would never kill Marco Quint. I would never, ever kill Marco Quint. After the pain in the balls that he was, what I would do is I would knock him out, throw him in an occupied escape pod, and then turn him over to Etienne Dorn to see what happens.
You could do like a special like Law and Order SVU and go after Etienne Dorn, like roleplay the whole thing.
You just go and chase him into black hole.
Let's wait until after. Let's wait until after he rapes and eats Marco Quint and then arrest him. Because Marco had it coming. Let's see. There we go. Nomadic loves the intro song. Servidian, hello, sir. Nolan Sister says, my sound is good. Unisakashiro, big salute to you. Roy's sound is good. Flaps is good. Go 1971, hello, sir. Tweak sound is good. Biotic Keen, hey. Kurtang, fair enough. All right. That's the people on the YouTube side. And Mannix, hello. On the Twitch side, say hi to some people. Call everybody in Twitch. Type something so Roy sees you.
Yeah, we got a handful of people. We got actually more than a handful of people in here, but so far they're being a little shy. We've got Hookie Bookie and Holy Sky and Odd Sock Eater and Beyond Aeon just chipped in.
Hey guys, welcome one and all. So yeah, that's good stuff. And it looks like the little chat doohickey is working. I'm seeing Twitch stuff in the YouTube chat. So that's a good sign. Right on. All right. We have got so much to get to. So I'm just going to say hi to Tony Witt and then tell Control, get it started, brother.
Turn the lights off, can't read me home.
All right. Welcome. Hello, and welcome to Elite Week. Ooh, I don't know if you guys are ready for a good time, but I am ready for a good time. This is Elite Week, episode 65. Heavily edited gameplay analysis with Rear Admiral Flaps. Galactic Water Cooler. Friday, March 5th, 2021. I am your host on this drunken romp through the galaxy, and my name is Kai Zen. And I hope that you are ready for some fun. With me tonight, as always, is we're going to go in a different order tonight. Our tactical officer, the main man, Tweak74. Say hi to the beautiful people, Tweak.
Hello, my beautiful people. Friday night. I'm not entirely sure if I can remember everything, but I feel like we got some news this week for a change. So let's get to it.
Was there news? I don't remember. Was there news? And
I feel like there was something.
My main man on the podcast, the absolutely astoundingly smooth voiced Canadian, Commander Roy. Say hi.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had a good week, but even if you hadn't, we're going to have a good time tonight. So pull up a chair and grab a drink and let's have some fun.
Hell yes. And our special guest, he's coming to us from Ireland. Rear Admiral Flaps. Say hello to the beautiful people, Rear Admiral.
Hello, my beautiful, beautiful people. It's great to be amongst you all once again. And I've got my beer in hand. I hope you've just got your beers in hand. I hope you've got your beer on your joystick and or your hand on a beer and a joystick at the same time.
Yeah, beer on a joystick.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's how I fly.
That's Irish for I'm drinking.
Right on. And in the control booth, we have the lovely and talented CONTROLLDON. Say hi to the beautiful people, Control.
Good evening, commanders. Hope you're having a fantastic night.
See, guys, he speaks English.
God morgon på er. Ha en bra dag.
And he speaks that too. So, yeah, right on. He's multilingual. He's the master of disaster. All right. So also we have I want to call out all the people that work so hard to make this work. We've got SWORDSMITH, who is our graphics producer. We've got WOLFDRAGON, the executive producer, and MONOHIVE, the podcast editor. So, yeah, thank you very much for all of you guys for doing all the heavy lifting so that I can just show up drunk and talk shit. Because that's really the only skill I have with regard to computer stuff. Our cover art this evening is Astankova truckers. That was a picture that they posted, and it was a big thing, and it was very, very cool. So I want to give them a shout out. Love all of the cool player groups in Elite Dangerous. In addition, our opening song was All the Small Things by Scary Pockets featuring Casey Abrams. And our closing song will be What's Going On by Teddy Swims. And those of you who are deciphering the coded messages to Frontier at home, what do you think? What do you think the message is? All right. Tonight, we've got lots to talk about. We've got some RAXXLA theories. We've got Burger Ant terrorizing the CG. We've got some more forum bullshit. And, oh, yeah, a little piece of news dropped. I don't know if you saw it, but there was some gameplay or something. I don't know. Somebody will, I didn't see it. Somebody I'm sure will tell me about it. All that and more. So stay tuned.
If you're listening to us on the podcast and would like to see the live show and visuals, check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Elite Week and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Elite Week. If you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch and would like to know how to catch us on our podcast, check out anchor.fm/Elite Week.
For sending us your thoughts by email, you can reach us at eliteweek3306@gmail.com.
Our very active and growing Elite Week Discord can be found at tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord, where you can check out or contribute to community feedback, resources on turning the wheel, and real-time updates about Elite from a variety of content creators.
In addition to the Discord community feedback channel, feel free to write in our YouTube comments anything about the topic of the week, as well as anything else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and click on the bell. It really helps us out. On Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated.
If you're on Twitter, feel free to follow at EliteWeek3306 for news and information about Elite Dangerous and cool sci-fi and space news.
We record live on YouTube every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 a.m. UTC, so come and join in on the fun.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you use. And let us know if there's a format you want us to look into.
We don't do Patreon, so save your money and just tell your friends about the show.
All right. So also with us tonight is Arson Cross. He just was able to duck in as we were doing the plug. So say hi to the beautiful people, Arson.
To the beautiful people, hello.
Right on. Okay. So as I said, we've got a lot to get to tonight, so let's jump right into it. Right off the bat, I want to start with a little brief interview with Rear Admiral Flaps. Flappy, we had you on before. You've been on the show before, but you took a little bit of a break from streaming Elite. You had some IRL stuff and whatever that you were dealing with, and you're back now. I just want to let everybody know that in the show notes, we will have your Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Rear Admiral Flaps, all one word. Your Discord is linked in there, and your Twitter, which is twitter.com/Flaps Rear. And I remember giving you shit about that last time too, because that's
I didn't choose that name. That was generated by Twitter themselves, but I'll take it.
Yeah. If you got a flap on your rear, that's easy. Never mind. Yeah. So, Flappy, you took a break from Elite for what, 6 months, 9 months, something like that?
5-6 months thereabouts.
5-6 months,
it was just multiple different things. I had some IRL stuff, as you rightly mentioned there, to try and sort out some not so good things happened in all of a short amount of time, and it just basically made me feel a wee bit burned out of everything. So I figured that if I just take a step back, bit of a sabbatical, recharge the batteries, and come back fresh, then hopefully that will be a good thing. And do you know what? Being in the community over the last few days, weeks, I really feel sort of reinvigorated. I've sort of updated all my equipment at home. I've updated the stream. There's new overlays on the way. There's just new everything on the way, and I'm back. I'm feeling good, and I'm back and ready to do some Elite Dangerous things.
Right on, brother. That's a beautiful thing. That is definitely a beautiful thing. So right off the bat, let's talk about. So when you stream, I want just people to know sort of like what days you're streaming. I know that you're going to be streaming going forward. You're going to be streaming some Elite. You're also going to be streaming some like Valheim and some like general stuff. And I think now's a good time to do that. Kind of get your feet into a bunch of different little ponds. And
absolutely,
have some fun.
yeah. Like one of the things that I sort of figured in my sort of downtime was I need to have a wee bit more variety around. You know, I need to break up the monotony of Elite Dangerous. The thing with Elite Dangerous was that I was streaming it 4 or 5 days a week the first time around, and I was having fun. I was having loads of fun, and I was enjoying the community. But I was doing 8-9 hour days at work, coming home, streaming straight away, and then going to bed, and then rinse, repeat. And it was just a wee bit too much. So I sort of figured now that if I take a wee bit of a step back and sort of stream a little bit of Elite Dangerous, a wee bit of Valheim, as you mentioned, or other games that are coming out later in the future, and just try to break it up a little bit, maybe not stream just as much, and have fun. Don't feel the pressure any longer. I want to have fun. So that's the ideas.
That is definitely the way to do it. And I'm seeing in the chat, people are saying, great to have you back, Flaps, and showing you some love. So
yeah, the welcome that I've had over the last week has been absolutely, I'm gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. I never realized I was thought of so highly. But yeah, it's fantastic to be back.
It's a beautiful thing. Right on. Well, Flaps, we're going to get to talking about what's going on in Elite, and we're glad to have you here for it. So let's get rocking. Right off the bat, I want to start with the Dark Wheel update.
It's the Dark Wheel update.
The Dark Wheel update. All right. The dark wheel is at 51.9%, and we own the system of Ross 154. We're looking to crash number 2, number 3, number 6 over the weekend and get ourselves, because 4 and 5 are locked in a war. We're going to look to push this into expansion by Monday, Tuesday-ish at the latest, and that'll get us started on the 12-day expansion cycle, which is, I always forget. It's 7 days active, 5 days pending, or 5 days active, 7 days pending. It's one of the two, but whatever. It's a 12-day cycle that is really an 11 to 13-day cycle because it's a sort of an imprecise art. But we're looking to get that cycle started and test the Sol system. I want to give a huge shout out to the Black Sky Legion, which is the official squadron of the Dark Wheel project on PC. The squad tag is BSL1. You can come and join us. I want to give a huge shout out to the guys of the Black Sky Legion on the Discord, and also the Rabbit Hamster Assault Force, and all of you guys either on the forums or through the Discord or through the 20 some odd Discords that follow our standing orders. All of you guys that are getting it done on your various in your various groups and whatnot, thank you so much. This project is huge, and it is, it's nearing the finish line. So we're excited because we have coming up, 2 big things to test in the next month that will be sort of make or break, and hopefully we'll make some history of some kind. So fingers crossed, and yeah, let's get it done. Next up, we've got the latest video by MATTIUS that dropped just earlier today, RAXXLA Theories, the SAP-8. Now, there's a thing in game. I'm not going to give any spoilers. I'm just going to kind of give the general sort of background explanation. There's a thing in game called the SAP-8 core, and these are these canisters that you have to get. They're literally the hardest and most difficult to acquire sort of rare good in the galaxy. It's crazy, crazy weird. You have to get these one specific type of couriers that are in these specific areas, and as soon as you attack them, they immediately call in wave after wave of reinforcements to their defense that are really some tough ships to fight. And yeah, you have to, while you're doing all that, hatchbreaker, you have to get through the shields, hatchbreaker limpet, and steal pirate these couriers and steal these SAP-8 cores. Now, the things themselves are a crazy mystery. They were in the game, and it says right in there that it's a canister that has this sort of special containment field that has like a small thermonuclear device or something inside of it. And if you screw up and try to, force it open, if you don't have the proper access code and try to just, if anybody, other than the proper recipient tries to open it, it'll like detonate and explode and yada, yada, yada. So they were theorized and alluded to be something to do with the RAXXLA mystery at some point. They were completely taken out of the game of Elite Dangerous for a while, to the point that Frontier even went into people's cargo who had SAP-8 cores and took them out, and people like opened tickets to complain to say like, hey man, my stuff is missing, and Frontier said, yeah, they're not in the game anymore, they were something to do with RAXXLA, but they're not a thing anymore, and they're gone, it's not, it's not a thing. You're not supposed to do anything with it. So that happened, and then quietly, like a year or two later, they were reintroduced to the game with no fanfare, no explanation, no patch notes, no anything. It's just people just started noticing, hey, these are a thing again. What the hell? And they're really hard to get, and we don't know what to do with them. But the tantalizing facts that we have about them, or speculation that we have about them, draws interest. And the fact that they're so hard to get. I mean, I know I've got about a dozen of them in my cargo on my fleet carrier that we went and got, and I'm looking forward to seeing like will this do something once we get Odyssey and we're on foot? Will there be some way to hack it open with the hacking stuff that they have, or that e-breach core, or not? There's no way to know. These are all things that are like question marks for now. So yeah, Mattius did a very, very cool video on it, and the link is in the show notes. Everybody that knows Mattius knows there's a couple of guys. You got your Mattius, your Drew Wagar for like sort of more the official lore stuff, your Guru 951. There are a couple of guys that do these like speculation theories into the sort of tinfoil stuff, and it's like, holy shit, they rock your world with the information they bring and let you spin some, have some fun spinning some conspiracy theories on what could this mean, whatever. So if you want to be fully up to date on the latest of the tinfoil, well, get your ass over to Mattius's channel and check out that RAXXLA theories video. Good shit. So next up, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got Burger Ant. I'm just gonna say it. Burger Ant is the best ant in Elite Dangerous. Burger Ant is greater than Obsidian Ant. Fight me if you disagree. He is just fucking hilarious. He does these stupid videos. This is the last video that he did. There's a link in the show notes. PvP and SIRIUS. He flies around in a hauler with one hard point.
D-rated.
And derated everything, and he interdicts Mambas and Fertilances, and then is like, hey, I'm Burger Ant. What are you doing here? I'm questioning you. Are you going to try to kidnap the princess? And then, of course, they keep killing him over and over. And every time he's like, you're killing me. Oh, no. Combat log. I mean, rats
Lightning
are chewing my power
house.
cable. Yeah. And then the next time, combat log. I mean, lightning struck my house. Like, it's just over and over him getting blown up and screaming at the television set, and he's fucking hilarious.
It's when he's looking for Asling. It's hilarious as well.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Ashling. And then he goes to fly over to the federal Farragut battle cruiser, and he's like, Ashling, are you there? Are you being held kidnapped by Hudson? They're shooting at me. Fuck, run away. And then he's like, it's all done. And he's like, maybe she's being held prisoner in a sex dungeon. Maybe she likes it. She's Imperial. You never know. Like just the guy's just fucking, like, he's legitimately, these videos are on the level of Spatula. That, like, it's that stupid, and I fucking love it. I am here for it. I will be checking out his stuff. If you have not subscribed to Burger Ant's fucking channel, what are you doing? Because this shit in 2020 and 2021, this is the shit that we need to see and just giggle at over the depressing nature of the rest of the universe. Guys, hop in here on, we've got the Dark Wheel, we've got Mattius's video, and we've got Burger, and I want to hear some chatter on this shit. Go ahead, Roy.
So the SAP 8 thing, what I was thinking of as I was watching that and then listening to you talk about it as well, is the actual the mechanics, the game mechanics of how you get it, that little event and waves of ships coming in and how difficult it is. Like, in other games, that would be a feature. Like in Destiny, they have these things called heroic events where you can go to they're on a schedule and you can participate with some people, and it's kind of it's like a little, not a raid, it's much, much smaller than that, but it's a little mini planned event. And this thing is like a hidden gem, this SAP 8 thing. If you want to just go have some fun in a hard mission, and it's not just a single fetch mission or a single go shoot this guy and you're done, it's got some steps to it, and it the outcome of it is this cool thing. I was just surprised that this is like one of these things it's so both encouraging and infuriating about this game. Is there's these little things that once you know what it is, it's super freaking cool, but you got to find it, and hopefully more people will know about it from Matthias's video and hopefully us broadcasting it as well, and other people promoting it, and it's a fun thing. Go do it. The Burger Ant thing. Humor, you know what? Humor is not easy, and he nails it. He nails it. It's really well done. Put a giant smile on my face. I was just giggling the whole time, and at the same time, I was sort of like, "What am I watching?"
Yeah,
but it was just so funny. So yeah, cool stuff.
I have the little bell set up to where anytime he puts something out, my phone will beep, and I'll be like, "Oh, I gotta stop and I gotta check this out," because yeah, it's just stupid fun, and it's just great stuff. Oh, okay. Real quick, let's dispense with something. This is some weirdness and whatever, but yeah, there's some more forum bullshit. You know, you guys heard last week the round 1 of the forum bullshit. So after last week, I called out the forum mods for their fucktardedness, and in specific, what do you call it? Osric. I guess they decided, okay, well, they were going to get me. So a couple days later, the very next thing that I really posted in the forums, Arson got a hold of me and he was like, "Guy, did you see this weird thread that this guy started where he's talking about the Dark Wheel, and he found some stuff, and it's like, man, is David Braben and Frontier, are they part of the cult?" And I was like, what the hell? So I looked into the thread, and the guy posted this thread, and he's like, "I found what I think is the most important piece of information that people need to see about the Dark Wheel and RAXXLA and whatever." And then he went to post some like logs or not logs, but some like quoted stuff and say like, "Hey, look, here is like a quote from Aleister Crowley on some weird, obscure, occult prayer or quote or book or text or something." And it bore a sort of a resemblance, a passing resemblance to part of the RAXXLA, the Dark Wheel toast about RAXXLA. So it was, you know, that whole thing with to the jewel of the brow, to the burning blah blah blah, to the this, to the that famous Dark Wheel toast, you know, is sort of similar to that occult shit. And he's like, you know, could this be a link? Could this be telling us something about David Braben or Frontier or whatever? And I went to respond to the post, and I went to say, "Hey, man, just as a heads up, like David Braben and Frontier aren't into the occult in any way that I know of from all of the stuff that I've seen. And as a heads up, David Braben didn't write any of the RAXXLA shit. All of the RAXXLA lore shit, David Braben and I always forget, Ian Bell, Alan Bell, one of those two names, Bell. Braben and Bell were two college kids that were cramming through massive amounts of quick coding to make this amazing game for Acorn Soft back in 1984 called Elite. You may have heard of it. And while they were doing it, one of the two of them must have been a fan of this guy's book. There was this book written by Steven Eisler called something Alien Worlds : something. And it turns out that Steven Eisler is the pen name of a guy named Robert Halstock. So they tracked down this guy, Robert Halstock, or knew him or some way knew of him, and got him and said, "Hey, man, you wrote this book, this Alien Worlds book," and the book was like broken up into thirds. There were like three separate. It was like a what is that called? Where you have not a collage, but you know how you have a book where it's like three different stories that don't match. They're in different worlds, but they're just
anthology.
Put together. Anthology. There you go. Thank you. That's why you're here, Roy. So he wrote this anthology book that had three separate stories in it, and the first story was, I forget what, and the second story was another thing, and the third story was called, I think it was called the Osira RAXXLA. And in this book, it's this crazy fucking book, and the book is, or the story is, there's these interdimensional lizard people called the Osira RAXXLA, and they travel through this gateway that's called RAXXLA. They travel between dimensions. They're able to travel through time. They have this weird, wacky cult where they can like control the universe and do weird shit. And they can like possess machinery and computers and stuff. So like if they want to kill you, this weird lizard cult, like they can murder you in the perfect way, like, and get away with it scot-free. Because it's like, let's say I want to murder arson, right? And I have this I'm a weird lizard cult person that has the ability to inhabit machinery and stuff. All I do is wait until he gets into an elevator and then possess the elevator to plummet 80 stories down to, ground floor instantly, murdering him. Or I possess his car and, turn off the brakes and, steer into a cliff or something. And like, so they had all these sort of weird powers, and they could pull strings behind the scenes and yada, yada, yada. This book was trippy as fuck. I mean, it was crazy weird. And I put in there, I was like, hey, man, this guy wrote this book called The Alien World or whatever. And it's this cool, weird, funky, trippy, pothead sci-fi anthology series book that had like all of this super weird shit. Like, this guy had access to the good weed, because it's like weird shit of like, oh, look, it's mom and pop and the little boy and girl at the breakfast table in like a 1950s Norman Rockwell type painting, but like half of the people were replaced by big, huge insectoids that were just sitting at the table waiting to eat their cereal or reading the morning paper. Like, it was some weird, trippy shit. Anyways, the forum moderators took this opportunity, as the first post that I had made since I called them out for being fucking fascist assholes. They took this opportunity to post or to ban me from the forums. And they said, you mentioned drugs, because I said it was a trippy pothead book. They said, you mentioned drugs. We have a zero tolerance policy about drugs, so you're banned from the forums. Now, they didn't say like, oh, you're banned like, for a week, or you're banned for 3 weeks. They just said, you're banned from the forums, 30-point violation. Which is like, what the fuck? Like, just out of nowhere. And this wasn't a situation of like, hey, man, we keep warning you, don't say it's a pothead book, or don't say something about potheads, or whatever. And I think in that thread that we talked about last week, there was that guy that was like, I called him a pothead because he was like thinking I was a frontier plant and that I ruled the galaxy or something, like all this weird shit. So this wasn't, I've never been warned about like, hey man, you can't mention pothead, or you can't this, that, or the other. I didn't say it in a derogatory way. I actually said it was a cool, funky, weird, trippy, because like in the 70s, you had all that weird sci-fi shit that was very sort of, some hippies smoking weed and like, yeah, man, I've got this idea about this interdimensional gateway, man, and these lizard people. Like, it wasn't derogatory. It wasn't, it was very innocuous. It was very just like not a fucking problem. And out of nowhere, they went, and no warning, no first step, no second step, no third step, just, you're banned. They didn't sign their name to it anywhere. There was no like, oh, it's this person or that person. I guarantee you, it was either Osric or one of his little buddies doing their little bullshit bullying, fucking tactics like they've been doing. And also the whole thing like, oh, you could appeal this, that button wasn't there. No time frame, no name, no nothing. It was very, very suspicious and bullshit. So I went and actually looked and found there was somebody sent it to me like, here's the actual email, just go here and what do you call it, appeal it. It's like, this is absolute bullshit. You can do a search on the keyword search on the forums and find fucking 80 different threads where somebody posted something and said, marijuana or pot or, some kind of whatever. And this is just complete bullshit. So I filed an appeal and I said, hey man, it was an innocuous reference. This is clearly bullying. This is clearly absolute bullshit. And I got a response back fairly quickly. Again, this one said it's from the community management team, but it's not signed. Nobody had the balls to put their name on it. But it said, we have a rule. This is the rule. It says you're not allowed to reference illegal activities or drugs or whatever. So, we feel that the decision was proper and we're not accepting your appeal, which is fucking ridiculous. Again, this is so blatantly obvious that this is a completely bullshit, bullying, unfair application of the rules. to the extent that multiple people in the Discord were looking stuff up, and they're like, one of the guys, he's like, yeah, man, there's like, I pulled up and reported like 40 or 50 threads where people were talking about drugs. They're talking about pot or marijuana. I think he did a keyword search just for marijuana and was reporting them and saying like, hey, this is a rules violation. And they banned him for like 6 days. They gave him like a 6-day ban and said that the thing that he did that was wrong or improper was he was, quote, I forgot what the quote was. It was something like revenge reporting. Yes. And unbeknownst to me, another person had also sort of started doing similar things where they were just pulling and looking up threads where people were talking about drugs. And that guy also got like a 6-day ban, and they said revenge reporting. So it's like, it's absolutely clear that this is a bullshit application of the rule. I had no warning. Even Stuart GT, I was talking to him on the Discord publicly, and he said like, wait, what? That's crazy. They gave you a 30-day ban for one drug reference? That's like ridiculous.
You mean?
Huh?
30 point,
yeah, not a 30-day, a forever ban. And they're like, he was like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And it's like, yeah, but this is what's happened. And, we've got multiple members of Frontier in the Discord that saw the chat that was going on all day about it, where everybody was like, what the hell? This happened like on Tuesday or Wednesday. Everybody's like, what the hell? And yet it, has stuck. So this is what it is. So again, I think if anything, I don't think that Osric and his little crony buddies could have done a better job of highlighting my point that the Elite Dangerous forums are an absolute dumpster fire than by doing what they did. It's fucking ridiculous. I see Arson had something he wanted to talk about.
So one thing I want to say is the drug references are within the rating of the game. Onion Head, which many of us know about, is a flower. It is directly analogous to marijuana. And not only is it in the game, but there are many strains of it. So not being able to reference drugs in the elite section seems kind of silly to me. But the other thing that caught my ear on this was the whole revenge reporting thing. I hadn't heard that reasoning before, but I do got to comment. If your forum staff have to have a policy against revenge reporting that only occurs when it's apparent that admins are, or moderators in this case, are misusing the rules selectively, that's a big red flag that you got a problem.
Oh, they also have a rule that says you can't question them. So there's so many red flags here that you might as well be standing behind the fucking Olympic swimming team for China. It's all red flags just getting waved at you right in your face. But yeah. But it is what it is. I'm not really I definitely want to highlight the injustice of it, the fact that this is complete bullshit, and but it's not exactly a thing that I'm brokenhearted over, because like I said, the Elite Dangerous forums are a fucking waste of time anyways. That because of the way they're being run, they're an absolute dumpster fire and a waste. So I'm not going to really cry myself to sleep over it. Which let's go ahead and jump right along to Frontier News.
For news beyond the game, it's Frontier News.
It's Frontier News. All right. We're going to skip right ahead because everybody knows what you want to see, everything that's going on here. So let's start with the streams. There were 2 streams. Tuesday, Super Cruise News, number 25 with Zac and Bruce. Didn't really have any news. Thursday, there was a little stream that it definitely had some news in it, but we're going to cover it actually as the discussion topic. So we're going to skip it just for now. There's links in the show notes to them, but let's jump down to the Galnet news articles. How about you start us off with the Galnet, Roy?
Yeah, so March 1st, most of these have to do with the summit that's going on in Sirius. The Galactic Summit, imperiled by political frictions and a variety of, I guess, humorous quotes from different people at the conference, espousing different views of what's going on, and of course they're all contradictory. March 3rd was Superpowers Make Progress at the Galactic Summit, so kind of the other swung to the other side, and people reporting that maybe something is being done. Then a couple came out on March 1st or March 4th rather. The first one was the kickoff in lore of the CG for the second week of running defense missions, but also they've added in some delivery mission. So there's two different CGs that we'll touch on. And then, like everyone's favorite crazy uncle at Thanksgiving, ARCHON DELAINE GATECRASHES the Galactic Summit, and hilarity ensues. People trying to escape, thinking it's a security threat, and then getting calmed down, and then a lot of puffery around, how uncivilized it is to have a character like him at this summit. So some interesting writing there. It was kind of funny, I thought.
If that wasn't bad enough, I hear that he showed up with a "Make the Galaxy Great Again" hat, and I was like, "No, too soon, bro. No,
Too soon.
no."
Then finally on the 5th, today, Jupiter Rochester sentenced to life imprisonment. So I guess some fallout from him not being able to build his, evil Fortress of Doom in HIP 54530 successfully.
Yeah, let's see how long his life imprisonment sentence lasts, because I'm fairly sure that sometime in the next week or so, he's going to accidentally shoot himself in the back of the head 27 times while shaving, and the federal police will investigate the whole thing and rule it a shark accident. Arson, you had something?
Yeah, I mean, he's a Rochester. He's probably just going to send a clone.
Ooh.
Send in the clones. Yeah. So, all right. The Galactic Summit imperiled by political frictions. That's nice little sort of, okay, some stuff back and forth. The superpowers make progress. That's like, it's one of those, it's in peril. Oh, it's doing better. The defense and delivery requests. Okay. Oh, it's even doing better. Archon shows up. Oh, it's imperiled again. This is sort of the middle chapters of this story. This is week 2 of a week 3 sort of saga. So this is sort of what you expect with regard to the Jupiter Rochester sentencing. Like I said, okay, yeah, he's not at all going to be Epsteined. So nothing to see here, folks. All right, let's talk about those community goals. Let's start with last week's, Roy.
Yeah, so the one that finished was the first week defense mission by the Federation. Got to tier 7 of 8. I know we had some theories about what it meant to have eight tiers, so I'm not sure what this means that it got to level 7. They had bumped up the target. So then, we get some paint jobs handed out. And then the next 2 that kicked off, so the first one is sort of a continuation of the defense mission, this time hosted by the Empire. People that are in the top 10 get a free clipper. Then there's some paint job, Cobra Mark III acceleration gold for top 25. Permanent Sirius permit, and the Cobra Mark III acceleration white paint job for the top 75. And that one's well underway, already at tier 4 of 8. And paired with this now, there's a delivery mission, feeding the Galactic Summit. You can deliver meat, coffee, fish, fruit, and vegetables, and wine. And same rewards, the clipper and the various paint jobs. That one's proceeding a little slower, but I'm sure that'll get some steam up too.
So, with regard to last week's, let's take a look. Let's take a look a little bit about it. Last week's got to over 725 billion out of 1.3 trillion. That, or 1.28 trillion to be specific. That's crazy. They got over halfway there. We were talking about this and speculating like, hey man, what if this is a 3-week, you have to get to 1.3 trillion. They're going to keep track of it through the whole thing. And like, let's see whatever thing. And we were like, there's no way that we would be able to, even in 3 weeks, hit 1.3 trillion. That's just crazy. Meanwhile, if you look at it, we got more than halfway in the first week. Like, if it had been what we were suspecting or theorizing may be the case, we would be on track to for sure complete this damn thing. And this week's is at already, over 6%. It's at like over 82 billion out of 1.3 trillion. Now, obviously, that it's still early in the week in the sense that these things drop on Thursday and it picks up on the weekend. Friday night, we're just getting started, and then it goes ham Saturday and Sunday. But I mean, last week's, I was saying, okay, on Saturday alone, I got to like 55 million or million. I got to like 55 million. Yeah, I got to like 55 million in bonds on just doing it Saturday. I always do the same thing. I don't sign up for the CG until a Saturday. And then, cause like Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, like Thursday, Friday, I'm doing stuff, getting ready for the show or whatever. Then Saturday, while I'm doing editing stuff for the show and putting up clips and whatever. And we should talk about that too in just a minute. But while I'm doing all of that stuff, I sort of just mindlessly run the CG and do combat bonds or do some trucking, whatever. And I got like 55 million, and I'm like, that's plenty. There's no way that I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, this is somewhere around 30 whatever million to be in the top 75%. I'm totally good. I'm fine. And I left and started going back to turning the wheel and doing some engineering stuff and doing other things. And as the week progressed, as we got to, Tuesday and Wednesday, it's like, holy shit, man, these guys are really tearing it up. And I actually went back on Wednesday. I went back because I was just afraid, because it was right at where I was going to get knocked into the top 50%. And I wanted both the paint jobs. So I went back and just did a little bit more, got myself to like 65 million. So I was like, okay, I'm for sure safe now. And yeah, sure enough, I did finish in the top 25%. So I did, I got it, but it was nuts that it pushed that high. It got to what the top 75% was. What was like, let me pull it up and look here. Was top 75% was, or sorry, top 25% was 58,502,375 to 117 million. So yeah, I had to go in and do more. Otherwise I would have gotten knocked out of that. That, like, big hats off to everybody that was doing that CG. You guys really killed it. And I think that that's a sign to Frontier of a couple things. Number one, people like this story and they're interested in it. And number two, people really wanted those paint jobs, man. It's like, hey, these are cool. These are cool, two funky, cool star paint jobs. This is good shit. So people really went after it. With regard to this week's, it's just like last week's, where you're going to get two funky, cool star paint jobs. You get for the Cobra Mark III this time instead of the Viper Mark III. And the top, just like before, the top 10 commanders, not 10%, just 10 commanders, are going to get a Imperial Clipper for free. Again, continuing on from last week, like the Core Dynamics, and like basically like the big manufacturers for the Empire, the Federation, and the Alliance, Lakon, Core Dynamics, and I think Gutamaya all have their ships at like an extra 10% off on top of sales that you can get anywhere else. So if you go to a Leon Re system where it's 15% off already and use the extra 10% that's going on during the summit, you can get ships right now for 25% off, which means it's 25% less rebuy every time you do that. And yeah, I'm wondering about that, Roy. The guys, if you're one of the top 10 commanders from last week and you won a free FAS, can you please go kill yourself and tell us hey, is that a 0 rebuy or is that a augmented adjusted rebuy? Is there, what's the deal with that? Because I would like to know. I would really like to I want to know. That I think everybody's been curious, like, what was the deal with that free fast? Was it really free or was it subsidized? Because if it's subsidized, then you still have to pay the rebuy every time you just got it for free. If it was really free, if it's a free haul, that means you can die over and over and over on a fast with, the only thing you pay for is your modules. That's crazy.
They'll get those ships tomorrow, so that's when the first they'd know they get delivered.
And I'm not being a shitty person when I say, kill yourself so we know, but everyone's going to ask, like, for science. I'm sure if you're one of those 10 guys, that's going to be the first thing you want to do is, sell all your bonds, turn in all your cartographic data, sell everything. Don't outfit the ship with any kind of good modules at all. Just use the stock ship that you got and go fly directly into the ground as hard as possible with the shields turned off, because you want to know, hey man, is this a free haul for forever, unlimited rebuys, or is this a subsidized? Because that's a big, big question. It's a first in Elite Dangerous history that I know of, and everybody really, really wants to know about that. Hop in, Roy, and then Arson.
Yeah, you just answered the question I was bringing up. I think Arson had a few.
Go for it, Arson.
So the ship may be free, but the modules on it won't be. So you'll still have to pay a rebuy.
Of course, that's what I just said. I said, but
sorry.
No, I said your ship, your hull is free. The only thing you'll be paying for is the small amount for the modules. But your modules are free too if you use the actual hull that they give you. So the first guy to do it, if you just take the ship without upgrading anything and you just take all of your E-rated bullshit modules and fly right into the ground, if it's a free hull, then that's free too, right? So, yeah. I'm sure you said that those ships are going out tomorrow. I'm sure there will be somebody making a Reddit post sometime around, Tuesday or Wednesday or Monday or whatever. There'll be a Reddit post soon with people racing to say, I'm the first one that answered it for science. And yeah, or you can check the right-hand panel. That also works. You can see what your rebuy amount is. That's true. Sword, being all smart and whatnot. One of our producers in the green room typing some fucking obvious answer that I'm too stupid to get until somebody mentions it to me. But yeah, so cool stuff on this CG. And again, the big thing is, will Burger Ant be able to rescue his Princess Aisling? That's what I want to know. That's the big news for me out of this summit. And then for real, the big news is, when is Theta 7 going to show up to the party? We had already one gatecrasher. I'm waiting for another one, but a little more explosive and a little less looking like a young Ron Perlman. So, yeah, exciting stuff. There's 5 days left. Get out there, get your little star paint jobs for a Cobra, and get your Clipper if you're one of the 10 no-lifers that are going to do that, to where you get like, yeah, I turned in by myself 3 billion in credit, so I get a free Clipper. And it's like, okay, you're almost on your way to a fucking fleet carrier, but okay. Which takes us to the Frontier Wednesday Ask Me Anything, which they've stopped doing, which takes us to the Frontier Friday Question and Answers, which they didn't do, which takes us to Roy Stories.
We now return to our Inara Commander series with the logbooks of MACK WINSTON, Season 2, Episode 2, When Justice is Gone, There's Always Force. Came Cal's voice from somewhere in the depths of the galley. Ultra, I need the kick, I replied. We were back at Harvestport after our sojourn in LHS 3447 with its side trip to deliver an aquarium full of endangered fish. Delivering the fish to the buyer had thankfully gone smoothly once we'd got rid of Customs Chief Richardson and his merry little band. We never did meet the buyer, but the deposit of 750,000 credits within minutes of making the drop did at least show he or she appreciated the swift and safe delivery of their hallucinogen-making fish. The return home had been uneventful, and now I was in the understated luxury of the William F. McCoy's living room, just taking a break and catching up with what had been going on while we'd been away. I flicked through the local news on the datapad. War in LP 772-71, read the first headline. The aristocrats of LP 77271 have declared war against the East India Company. Cal, war's broken out. In LP 77271, the aristocrats are apparently, I read the article a little longer, attacking the company, looking to eject us from the system.
Check for call-ups,
came the reply. It would be inevitable. The missions office would be full of requests for EIC combat missions. No doubt there would be an all-hands request. Cal returned bearing coffee and collapsed into the seat beside me, looking at the screen. Yeah, we've to report to the mission office as soon as possible, I said, handing him the datapad. The coffee was scalding and tasted awful, like a mix of engine oil and wood chippings. Reedquashian Ultra coffee was clearly an acquired taste, and I still hadn't acquired it. It did sharpen the mind. I could feel the effects in seconds. EIC Missions Office, Harvestport.
Glad to see you guys back. Come in.
Beckoned Andrea Kruger, one of the missions officers at Harvestport. I liked her. I got on with her well, and she seemed pretty forgiving of my occasional errors in judgment. She always seemed to have a relaxed demeanor, even when things weren't going to plan. She'd been with the company for decades, yet her olive skin and dark hair didn't really show her real age, despite the stress you might expect from having to administer missions for dozens of recalcitrant and often arrogant pilots.
I think I have just the mission for you,
she said, looking down at the paperwork on her screen.
We need a transport in support of the war effort in LP 771-72. And it seems like you have quite a reputation for low observability missions.
Low observability missions? I inquired carefully.
Smuggling,
she explained with a hint of amusement. Ah, okay. Wondering where this was leading next.
Unfortunately, it's need to know, and regrettably, I'm deemed not need to know. So there's an urgent transport mission. They apparently need to make some modifications to your cargo bay, but that's all it says.
I gave Cal a sideways glance and looked back. Modifications?
No details, I'm afraid, but your clipper apparently is suitable. If you accept, the work can start immediately and will be ready within 2 hours.
And the pay?
100K. This is done for honor more than money, so don't try and haggle more money out of me,
she said, shooting a glance at Cal, who was about to say something. He obviously thought better of it. I passed my ident over the reader.
Very good. You'll be notified when your ship's ready. Don't go far. They'll want to launch within 30 minutes of the work being completed. You'll be briefed by the mission specialist assigned to the job,
she said, looking down.
Which is Captain Frank Smith.
Thank you, ma'am. We left the missions office and headed out to the canteen. Low observability deliveries, I muttered. They've got a euphemism for everything in that office. Meanwhile, conversation turned to the impending ascension ceremony in Sintani.
You still need to see a tailor, you know.
Yeah, I said, slightly resigned.
Don't grumble. Extra money we've got from the aquarium job will pay for a very nice outfit. You may even get to meet Torval herself. So you've got to look good. Trust me. Appearances mean everything in these big imperial ceremonies. I can tell you that firsthand.
Kind of nervous about the whole thing. I'm just a bit worried about making some tremendous faux pas and then having Oppenheimer murder me as a consequence.
Just be polite. Channel your imperial side.
Yeah, so you keep saying.
Really, relax a bit. It'll be a fantastic networking opportunity. There will be all sorts of big cheeses there. And if you get one or two of them to remember you for the right reasons, it'll open up some new doors.
Or slam them in my face if I make...
faux pas, yeah.
We arrived in the canteen. It was busy and most of the tables were already full.
And you'll have to get a haircut,
Cal added with what I thought was a malevolent tone, but it could have just been the noise in the canteen.
You can hardly go with that unkempt mop, however sexy you may think it may be.
You'll be telling me I have to look like Denton Petraeus next, I said, slightly sarcastically. seemed to be lost on Cal.
That'd be a good starting point.
Fancy hairstyles and tailored suits. I never thought those things would ever happen to me when I left Azaban what seemed a lifetime ago. I might have hated Azaban, but it did somehow have a strange attachment to my heritage, and part of me resisted erasing that part of my identity. In the end, I didn't dwell on it long. There was curry to eat and a mission to run, whatever that mission would end up being.
Right on. All right, I want to toast the crew for yet another amazing Roy stories. And also, let me take this opportunity to mention the fact that we've been doing clips pretty much every day this last week. We started Elite Week highlight clips where we put out little bite-sized pieces of the show that people can kind of see and like, oh, on this topic or that topic. Because a lot of times if people don't know you and they see like, oh, you got a 2.5 hour long stream, they're not going to want to hop in. But if you have a 5-minute thing and then they like it, and then another 7-minute thing and they like it, and then another 3-minute thing and then they like it, eventually they're like, man, I want to hear that whole show. I want the 2-hour experience. So that is the point of that. And I'm going to toss it over to Roy, where he can tell you a little bit about what's going on with Roy Stories now.
Yeah, so we got a lot of requests for like, where can I go find these stories? And of course, they're in the podcast version and the YouTube version of the show. But now, in addition to the clips being broken out into their own YouTube videos, we're now also breaking out the Roy Stories under the Elite Week banner on the same channel. But you'll be able to look up just the Roy Stories as from basically last week's show forward.
Absolutely. So Roy Stories are going to drop separately as a highlight, basically every Saturday at 10 a.m. So I've already uploaded this week's Roy Story and have it going so that at 10 a.m. tomorrow, it'll drop for people that are like, oh, yeah. And they have their own little channel, too. So if you miss 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, you can always come back from now on, going forward, starting last week and this week and the weeks going forward. You can go back and just check out the, what do you call it? Roy Stories and enjoy those. So, yeah. That's a thing that we're putting out for you. We're taking steps to make things sort of better and better as we go. So that takes us to basically our discussion topics. Now, right off the bat, let's talk about, we just have one discussion topic tonight, and that is the gameplay video that you can see it actually on the screen right now. It happens to be up, and you see it playing, and I'm going to go through my analysis of it with time point by time point. This is going to take a little bit. After that, we're going to open it up to everyone to discuss, hey, what did you think? What did you like? What did you notice? And if they have time points, and then we'll just go sort of round table and just discuss it in general. So the intro to the first 50 seconds was David Braben. Always awesome to see David Braben. Huge thumbs up. We love David Braben. So yeah. At 1 minute and 1 second, there's a pretty little planet. Love Dr. K's work. Love that planet tech. The planet is Ville C4. And if you notice, the pilot, who is being voiced by, if not played by, Art, is wanted. Let's cut to 1 minute and 12 seconds. Proceed to landing pad 1, which is in the dirt. And slow down for auto dock. It says it on the screen. Slow down for auto dock. So you now have the auto dock place opportunity at this location, which has a landing pad in the dirt. Now, if you notice, the pilot is now not wanted, indicating that for some reason, in the first 12 seconds of this thing, they needed to make an edit, even though it was just a guy flying up to a planet. But something's happened there. There's an edit there. At 1 minute and 16 seconds, the guy auto docks onto pad 1. And if you notice on the actual HUD, you saw that the planet was 0.31 gravity. Now, there's been a lot of talk from content creators saying that he requested docking and then didn't land on the pad. He landed on the dirt using auto dock. So now we're getting dirt side auto dock, you know, as just a thing. Like you can slow down anywhere on any planet and you can use your auto dock and it'll find a landing place for you. This is not accurate. This was, I'm going to put up a picture on the screen, Control. This was a picture that was provided by Arson, where he jigged up a little thing showing how the docking works and that the guy is in fact on pad 1. Can you throw it up on the screen real quick, Arson? Or Roy? Or Jesus, Control?
Try again.
Yeah. There you go. I see it. So you can see right there that there's a landing light on the bottom middle picture. You can see where the pad 1, which I assume that this little place only has pad 1, or maybe because there's an entrance on the left and an entrance on the right, maybe pad 2 is on the other side. But you can see that even though he's coming in from the side, where he actually lands is on a landing pad. So let's dispense with that, because Arson, you pointed that out. So many content creators have said, like, hey, you can just use your auto dock to land anywhere on the planet now, and that's clearly not the case. And Eagle Eye Arson rather is not going to let that shit go. So get in on this, Arson. Come on in.
Yeah, so the thing that actually made me catch it, as you can see the three circles lined up with each other, is the satellite dish specifically, and it does not rotate, and that part is clearly visible when the ship, you got the cockpit view while it's idling, touch down. The satellite dish is right in front of it from the cockpit view, and it does not rotate at all.
Right.
So you have that beautiful point of reference that's available from all 3 or 4 of these shots, and it just straight up confirmation, hands down.
And of course the landing light cinches it. There's no way that you would have landing light pads around what is not a landing light. Also, you can see the fact that in the pictures up at the top, it very clearly shows that the pad is a massive thing that is directly abutting the central, straight up next to the gate, right through the arch. And again, in the bottom picture, you see the arch is straight ahead of you. So that's sort of, if you look, that's sort of where it would have to be. There's nothing else that you could have there. So yeah, Arson caught that. And I would say I've seen like 5 or 6 different content creator videos where they've said like, and here you can use your docking computer when you're not even on a landing pad. And it's like, nope, he's on a landing pad. So good catch, Arson. After that, there's an edit cut that skips the troop egress from the ship. I mean, obviously it's a situation where they don't want to show us, or they don't have it ready. I think, I don't know. We'll leave it to you to decide which one it is. But now at 1 minute and 25 seconds, keep in mind, 9 seconds ago, we saw from the landed ship that it shows that the gravity is 0.31 outside. Now the gravity is 0.49. But it looks like it's a similar latitude and longitude. So either A, they edited this to 2 different planets, or B, for some reason they landed and then said, okay, we need the gravity to be different for what we're doing. So, hey, QA guys, edit that gravity. That's different. All right. I'm just, noting the things that I caught. Let's see here. Let's see. Now you will notice that there's hollow triangles showing the cohort ahead of them, even though they don't have a weapon drawn. So I guess if you are armed, it's a triangle. If you're not armed, it's a square. I don't know what the deal with that is, but even the guy was jogging with his hands at his side and his rifle slung over his shoulder. It showed as a hollow triangle, which is normally for ship purposes only when weapon is drawn. There's a good sort of left side HUD indicators. It shows the in-ship icon. So that's how you're going to have your wing indicators, how you normally have them in the top center when you're in the ship. Here, as you can see on the video, you clearly have them on the left side. And as you can see, the one guy is indicated as being in the ship, Hermes, which is played by Art. And that guy is, you see a little ship indicator. I wonder if there's a little SRV one, because they didn't show us anything with SRVs. We don't know yet, but it'll be interesting to see. At 1 minute and 33 seconds, there's a clear shot of Circe, which is being played by Zac, the female character, in a scavenging suit with one rifle, a machine gun on the right shoulder. At 1 minute and 34 seconds, there's a clear shot of Nestor, being played by Bruce, a male in a combat suit. And you know that this is a combat suit because in addition to other things, it has 2 rifles. There's one slung over each shoulder. At the 2-minute mark, despite the fact that they had already said when they landed that they're not wanted and they're completely allowed to be there, Zac and Bruce proceed to be awkward as fuck with some special ed version of Mission Impossible, trying to be super stealth while running around and ducking behind boxes, and it's kind of a little crazy because less than 5 feet away from them are numerous skimmers that are clearly monitoring their every move. So just imagine, if you're a bank security guard, it's like if somebody wanted to come in and rob the bank, they could walk right up to the door like they're just ho-hum coming into the bank, and then open it up and then this is a robbery. Instead, what you see is, I swear to God, it seems like it's just imagine if they went into The Office and they got Michael Scott, or for you British people, they got David Brent and Dwight in the American version. I forget the British guy's name, but imagine if the two of those guys are trying to be like some ninjas and they're like, I'm hiding, I'm ducking. And the bank guard's just watching them come up the street like, what are these two fucking idiots doing? That's kind of what it seemed like to me. And through the whole thing, they're trying to, like I said, be super stealth and super black ops with their, okay, clear to the left, clear to the right. Ignore the fucking 3 camera drones 4 feet above us that are just following our every move and recording it. 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Art flies off. The cockpit shows again that it's for the world and universe that Art inhabits, it's 0.31 Gs. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds, Bruce targets a patrol guard, bringing up the name. It says Ricardo Gentry over the name, or Gentry, and it has a 1 indicator. Probably this is his access level for the scanning mechanic, where you can spoof the NPC's ident and get access to the zone of their access level. There's also a down chevron, probably indicating the ability to expand the info available for that NPC, or maybe giving you okay, here are the options if you want to try to, use your whatever hacking tool to spoof his ident or whatever. But there was some more available there, I think, on that scanning menu that they didn't access, so we didn't get to see. At the 2 minute and 48 second mark, we've got, let's see here, the obligatory med supply box. There's a label that indicates medical case, interact, the blue console X button indicator. So either Bruce was playing on a console, or more likely, Bruce was playing on a PC that had an Xbox controller attached to it. And so he was getting, he was playing using his Xbox controller. So he was getting X to interact. And that's, that's sort of what he was doing. The blue interact button showed that he takes 2 of the med kits, taking him to 3 of 5. So he had 1 already. There was no inventory interaction shown. At 3 minutes and 16 seconds, as the 2 least stealth people in the history run from cover to cover in full line of sight of the floor to ceiling command structure windows, with a sentry to the left, and 2 to the right, and a sentry drone a few feet away watching their every move. They move to get, we get a clear view of Zac POV, from Zach's POV rather, that shows that Bruce has a laser rifle on the left arm and a kinetic submachine gun a kinetic, what looks to be like a saw, like a squad assault weapon on his right arm, and it appears to have the grenade launcher attached. Zach appears to have a submachine gun on his lone rifle. At 3 minutes and 23 seconds, what appears to be a propped open ammo box close to the left, and a suspicious red, in every FPS game ever, this is the canister that will explode look to it, on the upper left. And our two secret squirrel ninjas completely turn their back on the sentry at their 6 and proceed to stealth toward the the power building in full line of sight of the sentry that's about 50 yards away, and walking towards them, so facing them. Their position from the building across from them, again, there's floor to ceiling windows from the command structure, just everything right there. Clearly, this FPS is built upon some Metal Gear Solid sort of limited range of sight circles. So it's one of those, not like how in Ghost Recon or whatever, if they're facing towards you and you're close enough that they can see you and you can see their body, like they'll trigger towards you, as opposed to this is, I think, the Metal Gear Solid sort of, it's got to be in your little circle. That's the circle of because for whatever reason, bad guys can only see for like 50 yards. And then in that 50-yard circle, they have their cone, and that's the cone that sweeps around where they're facing, but they don't notice anything sort of outside of that. Let's see here. Of course, there is also just the possibility that the guard's like, hey, look at those two fucktards, but they're not wanted and they're allowed to be there, so he's just watching them do what they do. That's also a possibility. At 3 minutes and 30 seconds, the super secret squirrels pan right and search for the guards, completely ignoring the sentry drone 5 feet away from them, directly following him, just watching everything he says, or does rather. At 3 minutes and 37 seconds, exact same. The drone is clearly following them, thinking, what are these assholes doing? Luckily, they aren't even trespassing, so this whole Mission Impossible routine is sort of just cringe roleplay, and the drone decides to let them just keep playing until they do something illegal. At 3 minutes and 43 seconds, Zac says, I'm sprinting over. I don't know, maybe there's obviously there's a walk mechanic, obviously there's a run mechanic. Maybe there's also a sprint, like a short-term boost that takes some extra stamina that we haven't seen yet, but it's interesting. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Our ninjas arrive at the door that they could have just casually walked up to with absolutely no difference. The door is clearly indicated with a bright red access panel, and right below it is a zone indicator showing that it's, on the panel, it shows that there's a zone indicator showing that it's a level 3 access zone. Right underneath that is a like an electronics panel that you can cut through. So there's two ways that you can get through this door. You can defeat this barrier by either A, hacking it through the panel, or B, going underneath the data terminal panel into the electronic access panel and cutting it open so that you can overload whatever the system. They choose sort of option B. Zac looks through the glass pane for the door and identifies there's two workers inside of the power building. And we see also on the compass that Art is directly on their heading. So he's basically straight ahead of where they're facing, but he's 2.61 kilometers away, just on the other side of the hill. It cuts at 3 minutes and 58 seconds to Art's cockpit view, which confirms what I just said by the fact that he's still got the munition hubs targeted, and it's about 2.5 kilometers away. At 4 minutes and 3 seconds, Zac deploys the Arc Cutter tool, which it clearly shows that it's in cutting mode on the red panel of electronics box directly underneath the power plant access zone 3 sign. So as I said before, it's clear here that you have two ways to get through the panel. They're not hacking, they're avoiding the hacking and going with the, cut through the torch and go through the electronics panel version. At 4 minutes and 8 seconds, when hovering the arc cutter over the panel, you get an interaction notice labeling it as maintenance panel, and that the indicator on it has the exact same symbol as the arc cutter symbol, clearly indicating, even if you don't speak English, you know, this thing needs this tool to defeat it. He proceeds to cut the panel off, which looks actually very nicely done. I suspect that this is just hit the key, hit the button, hit the E button to interact, and it just, like, you know, you hold it down for a second or two, and then it cuts a perfect square or rectangle where the panel is, instead of having you automatically trace a line, because that seemed that it was fairly perfect and you know, perfectly straight lines done. At 4 minutes and 21 seconds, first ever seen, never before mentioned tool, the energy link. So Zac holsters his arc cutter and pulls out another tool, which we don't know. Maybe the energy link. I suspect the energy link is not unique to the scavenger tool, that it's actually anybody, but it might be a second tool that is unique to the scavenger button. We'll have to find out later. But it's exciting that they showed us a brand new, another tool that they've never even mentioned before. Now it's in siphon mode first when he draws it, and then Zac swaps it to overload mode, and that does give him a clear illegal indicator saying, like, hey man, like, overloading shit, that's you're causing damage, you're attacking a property, that's illegal. So Zac executes the overload command, and a loading bar appears over the panel showing that the overloading process with a percentage complete indicator. After 3 or 4 seconds, it shows that the bar is complete, and then at the end of the cycle, there's a discharge, like an electric, like lightning bolt that shoots from the energy link to the power port, and the power port goes dead, and now it's listed as overloaded, and the outer door opens. You can clearly see a blue force shield on the inside of that airlock, which is keeping the building pressurized, as well as a sort of a police tape style entering restricted area line. So it's like saying, hey man, you go past this and that's when you're trespassing. Up until this, you're allowed to do funky shit, but when you do this, this is illegal. This is no. At 4 minutes and 39 seconds, Zac holsters his energy link and draws a pistol that is a 15-shot magazine, and he has 12 spare mags on him with no grenades in his inventory. His power level is down to 53% at this point, and he still has no shields on. He's been operating shieldless thus far, which was fine because they weren't doing anything illegal, so they weren't in any combat. At 4 minutes and 45 seconds, he says at that point, like, I'm going in, I got to take these guys out. So at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, he scans a worker named Fatima Rowland, who has access level 3 credentials, which makes sense because she's working in an access level 3 building. Before neutralizing her with a double tap, he fires one shot into her back and then the next shot into the back of her head. Clearly visible on the left side is a hackable terminal for the power core. Clearly visible on the right side is a hackable terminal for the controlling life support that can vent the atmosphere from the building. Now, for those people that are sort of watching the thing that are saying, like, how can you tell clearly accessible computer terminals like nodes? Because they all operate on the same thing. Every time you have these hackable computer access terminals, it's like a red rectangle data terminal. There's one on the door, there's one for the power terminal, there's one for the access thing. It's a similar style. So for people that are new to FPS games that might be saying, like, how do you know that this is that? That's a key indicator. They make the things sort of look the same so that all of the doors, you know, the door panels have a certain look to them. And if you notice, obviously red is the interact color that they're going with here, because the green can be pick up some supply boxes, but red is you're going to interact with this because you've got the red door panel, the red electronic access panel, the red core panel, the red, all of these are the exact same. All right, let's pick up the pace here. Yes. 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Bruce draws a laser rifle with a 25 round mag and 11 spare mags. These aren't really mags. These are circular batteries, but you know, I don't know. I'm going to call them mags because they power a rifle. And he has 0 grenades. As seen before on the 4 stills provided in the HUD, his sights are a little different from Zac's pistol because Zac was targeting a person, whereas Bruce wasn't targeting anyone. Now that Fatima is neutralized, her name appears a different color. So that, I guess, lets you know that she's dead. At 4 minutes and 55 seconds, bounty gained 250 credits for the murder of Fatima Rowland. This confirms that it was a hard kill. Now we see, I believe, all the indicators on the screen at the same time. On the left side, you've got at the top your radar. Just underneath that is your wing indicator. So like the different people in your party and what their situation is. Below that are your icons for your suit and your gear. You know, so Zac is still running with his shield off in active combat. That's ballsy. The top middle is your compass and your temperature, grav, lat, long indicators. Your top right is your system notices. So he sees that he has a bounty gained. The far right is your log showing alert, trespass logged, leave area to avoid sanctions. And then the center of your screen floating onto the weapon is your munitions indicators. That is the full screen. I think right there is the whole shebang. That's everything you can see all in one shot. At 4 minutes and 56 seconds, you've got a crystal clear shot of a hackable data terminal that regulates the building atmosphere. Zac is now currently not targeting anyone, and his screen reticle, matches what Bruce just did earlier. At 4 minutes and 58 seconds, Zac shoots the second worker while the name is still scanning. He shoots them in the leg, and then as they tumble down, he gives them a second body shot, and you see bounty gain, 600 credits for trespassing. It appears in the top right-hand side, and then assigned bounty for trespassing appears in the chat log. As she falls dying, her name finally appears on the scan, and an update for bounty gain, 250 credits for murder of Scout Harper appears in the top right. So for people keeping score at home, he just murdered 2 people for a 500 credit bounty, and he's trespassing for a 600 credit bounty. So yeah, go figure. 5 minutes and 13 seconds. Zac, right, I'm going to hack into the reactor now. Spoiler alert, he's not. They skip that gameplay loop entirely with the following words: applying e-breach now. So on screen, you see the red hackable data terminal with the words reactor core engaged, then a schematic of the core, and then underneath it, in red, disengage regulator level 3. At 5 minutes and 14 seconds, so just 1 second later, without even holstering the weapon, Zac applies that e-breach, which instantly turns the panel blue with a slower loading bar in the center of it. And an interact menu pops up at the top right corner of the panel indicating reactor console, hacking, interact, hack, apply e-breach, 4 of 1, which I surmise means that Zac has 4 e-breaches on him, and defeating this console requires 1 of them. Bruce reloads at this point at 5 minutes and 18 seconds, despite not having engaged in any combat thus far. So that's the magic of editing. At 5 minutes and 22 seconds, the blue reactor core terminal now turns green, indicating that the access node has been defeated. The interact key for Zac is an E, so that indicates to me that he's playing mouse and keyboard. Zac hits the E key, and instantly the reactor core gets an exclamation warning sign, and just above it appears a flashing warning shutting down alert. The lighting in the room changes, and the alarms all go off, both in the room and around the base, indicating, to all of the guards that there's a problem and they're on their way in. Bruce now shows at 93% power reserves as he scans for attackers at 5 minutes and 39 seconds. At 5 minutes and 40 seconds, Zac is at 52% power as he awaits the shutdown cycle. 5 minutes and 45 seconds as he looks around the building. And I've got to say that Frontier did a fucking superb job on this. The internals, the set piece, the audio, the warning klaxons, the different alert, and the signs and the lights and the power core and all of this shit. Just phenomenal. Fantastic. I love it. Zac comes across 2 med kits on the wall. And again, his interact screen shows take med kit 0 of 3 E. So, again, he's hitting E to pick up the stuff. That's how you're going to do it on mouse and keyboard. Whereas controller, you hit your little X button on your Xbox controller. What follows? At 5 minutes and 49 seconds, Bruce spots guards approaching. They have shields up, making them glow bright blue, like you have some kind of weird predator vision. He has magically replenished the laser energy he fired at nothing earlier, and is back up to 25 shots loaded with 300 reserve and 0 grenades. What follows is an absolute goat rope of a firefight in which ammo and shield amounts go up and down like a stripper on a pole. There's ridiculously bad tactics used, including Zac firing through the position that his squad mate is standing at to try to get at enemies in the far distance behind him. Bruce firing downrange at targets more than 50 meters away while ignoring the close quarters attacker 5 feet away from him with a weapon drawn aimed right at him. Also ignoring the fact that the other shoulder, he has slung a squad assault style machine gun that also appears to have a grenade launcher attached. Nobody, neither the NPC nor the community managers playing, have a fucking clue what the term cover means or covering fire. The NPCs walk straight up to you, aimed right at you, but still wait an extra 5 or 6 seconds to pull the trigger. I don't know. That's stuff. At 6 minutes and 14 seconds, at around this point, Art asks, how much longer on the power plant? And Zac responds, it's about 40% complete. 6 minutes and 24 seconds, so 10 seconds later, and it's gone from being 40% complete. And now, while Bruce just stands 2 feet away to the right of perfectly good covering wall, out in the open, taking dozens of direct body shots from every angle, we now see that Zac is magically at full power. So he's gone up from 52% power to full power with his shields up and charging up. And he announces that they're about 3/4 of the way done. He calls for Art to start coming back as he blindly fires through Bruce again, trying to aim at people in the background. I don't think he hit an NPC. I think he actually did clip Bruce once, so there's that. At 6 minutes and 32 seconds, Bruce shields and energy levels are both magically going up now. Circe, which is played by Zac, doesn't even have a shield on again. Somehow he's turned it off again, even though they're in the middle of a firefight. Now Zac has, at 6 minutes and 36 seconds, Zac has shields on again at full power. His suit is at full power. And we hear reaction shutdown in 10 seconds, clearly as a recorded voice in the background. At 6 minutes and 45 seconds, the reactor completes shutdown and the power goes off inside the building as Zac puts on his flashlight. At 6 minutes and 52 seconds, despite the fact that he has 6 enemies clumped up right outside the door, none of which thought to toss in a grenade or kill to kill both of Bruce and Zac. Bruce ignores the fact that he has a machine gun with a grenade launcher, and he keeps pew-pewing with his laser rifle to negligible effect. At 6 minutes and 56 seconds, Zac grabs the exposed reactor regulator through interacting with the reactor regulator hit your E key button. And he now has a full battery. Bruce is at 0 shield and half health, due to not understanding the concept of cover. At 7 minutes and 1 second, so 5 seconds later, having nicked the reactor regulator, and the two community managers proceed to run through a 6-man kill funnel right at the door at the airlock entrance of the building, and then into and through a 14-man kill funnel with 5 men directly behind them. They literally were taking direct fire fully exposed with no cover from 270 degrees of angle. And somehow, despite this fact, they charge right through, or despite the fact that as they run right through here, when they started this charge, Bruce was at 2% shield before they even left the building. They magically jog right through like Superman, ignoring all of the enemy fire. 8 seconds later, it's 7 minutes and 9 seconds. In a brilliant display of tactical prowess, Bruce rocket jetpack jumps up to ensure that he has no chance of getting cover from any angle, as everyone just keeps shooting at him. But he's now at 71% battery and magically at 100% shield, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. 11 seconds later, 7 minutes and 21 seconds in, Art with a cockpit view. I'm coming down low and fast. Now, despite the fact that Art has previously called out that there are close air support ships, 2 close air support ships that are flying a combat air patrol over the munitions depot, they don't in any way engage with the intruders or Art, anybody. They just kind of fly around in circles. They're literally showing up as solid squares. They don't even have weapons drawn. They just kind of keep flying around in circles. At 7 minutes and 25 seconds, Zac continues to ignore his rifle and use his pistol, despite the fact he's got a machine gun, and he's using his pistol to fire at targets that are 30 to 100 meters away or more. At 7 minutes and 35 seconds, both community managers seem to believe that the optimal tactic is to stand in the middle of a doorway, ensure that there's no cover at all. They can use whatsoever, and magically their shields keep going up. At 7 minutes and 43 seconds, a grenade is thrown right at Bruce's feet while he's standing in a 3-meter wide walkway of a reinforced barricade. The blast literally has nowhere to go but through him, but our plucky community manager both survives and decides that this is still the perfect place to stand while he shoots at everyone that has a direct line of sight on him. At 7 minutes and 46 seconds, now in addition to the troops taking direct fire from a Goliath drone that locks onto them and just lights them up on their position. Keep in mind, these things can kill a small to medium ship fairly quickly. But our intrepid community managers take it and sort of just run and stagger and look back and keep running and then stagger. And while they basically have the equivalent of 3 50 cal machine guns firing directly into their bodies. Let's see here. At 8 minutes and 15 seconds, you clearly see a blue load ship icon here on the ground under the ship as the boys run for it. And it edits to, they edit before the fade to black get on the ship part would occur. At 8 minutes and 22 seconds, Zac, all right, I'm on board. And so is the regulator. Art takes off because fuck Bruce, I guess. But the good news is that Bruce won't be lonely because you can clearly see on the radar the 2 hollow squares. Bruce is still down there with Zac. They never got on the ship despite saying that they would. And magically, Bruce is back in his 0.31 gravity planet as opposed to the 0.49 gravity planet that the people 5 feet below him are on. So that's the breakdown point by point by point. Now, let me sort of give my overview thoughts and then we'll roundtable this shit. I know this has been long, but I just want to get this out. I think this is a huge step in the right direction, showing us something, right? Up until now, they showed us nothing. This was edited as holy fuck, but it's something. So we have some ideas, some concepts, some things that we can pull from this. I wonder, as they said twice, they named 2 specific people that their QA testers that they were like, these people helped us to get this footage or whatever. So like those people, maybe when all these edits were going on, they were pausing and doing God mode and changing the gravity on planets. And how many times did those people need to like, oop, there's a bug, oop, the game crashed, oop, whatever, and like stop, edit here, now let's fix it, now let's whatever. I wonder, because this footage was so fucking edited. It was like a I don't know, like a Britney Spears video. It's like it's hard to tell what we're actually seeing in this. So, essentially how much editing magic was needed was because of there's problems with the gameplay or whatever, and how much of it was just because whoever it was that was playing the characters, and it may have been the community manager's team, but I think it's just as likely that it was, you know, 3 randos playing those things while the community managers did voiceover work after the fact. But like, how much of this was because the game had problems, and how much of this because the people involved clearly suck at playing the game? Which, if I'm not mad at them for that. If it's just that the community managers suck at the game, this is something we've all known for a long time. It's no big deal. Whatever. That doesn't bother me. If it's we happened to keep editing it because shit was crashing, okay, that's concerning. So number 3, they did show the plasma cutter and the energy link tool, which is new, which that's awesome. But they skipped hacking entirely using this e-breach. Is that because hacking wasn't ready? Because they had the chance to hack at the door, they didn't use it. They used the cutter. They had the chance to hack at the terminal, they didn't use it. They used the e-breach. And later in the talk that they did, they explained an e-breach is an expensive thing that you can use as sort of like an I-win key. But like in general, the e-breaches are expensive and you don't really use them in general. You're just going to hack the terminal. Okay, so you had 2 opportunities to show us that gameplay loop, and you didn't. So, like, is it because it's not ready, or is it maybe it's ready? Maybe they have it ready, but they just have some future thing that they want to show off with it. Super exciting. So, like, it's not necessarily bad. It's just a question mark. Why aren't you showing us this? So. That takes us to point 4. At the evac phase, they ran right through the center of 2 separate kill funnels with dozens of NPCs shooting them from cover with no apparent consequences. Now, is this that they had, you know, the FPS gameplay that they had in mind? Because if so, they're literally tacking on shit tier FPS on top of an amazing game. Like Elite Dangerous is an amazing game. The flight mechanics of Elite Dangerous are fucking incredible. The science behind Elite Dangerous is fucking incredible. The 1-to-1 recreation of the galaxy is fucking incredible. And basically, you're tacking on the Flappy Birds of FPS onto a pre-existing masterpiece and saying, now it's double the game. So let's look at that thought. This could be one of 3 things. Number 1, the AI is actually good and it slaughtered these bad playing community managers over and over and over, and they edited it because they wanted to put out a story. That's the best case scenario. If that's the case, we're good. No problems. I'm happy. Our CMs suck at playing the game, but we knew that already. That the game is still good. That's so long as I can play the game well, that's fine. Option number two, the AI is dog shit, but it's a super old version and it's already been fixed by now. Now, for the record, Art has already made a comment because people have taken people have already seen what I've seen on this and said, hey man, this AI is dog shit. And Art has already responded, oh yeah, that's an super old version of the AI. It's better now. In which case, like, why show that off? Why would you show us that? Because if your intent is to get us excited, that's just some really incompetent like PR or marketing we're going to show you this really shitty thing and then tell you, no, it's better now. And then the third option is the AI is sort of dog shit, but they've decided to let it be that way because they're trying to not make it too hard for the forum dads who don't play FPS games but want to get into this one a little bit. Scariest of the 3 options, because if that's the case, then with Frontier saying we're going to try to attract a bunch of new FPS players, if you show FPS players, sort of that when they run out of the building, fucking Butch Cassidy and Sundance style and get away with it, FPS players are going to laugh right in your face and say, yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to play a real FPS game. That's a joke. So that's the one that scares me. I think it might actually be option 1. I think it might actually be the best option. I think the AI might actually be good. The community managers can't play, so they edited it to make it look like the AI was bad, even though it wasn't. I hope. Fingers crossed. I don't know. We'll know when we know. So, point 5, they claim that the air defenses are amazing. They said that. They made a big point of declaring that in the stream, and they've made a big point of saying that on the Q&A, 2 different Q&A things, rounds that we've gotten before. Oh, man, this air defense is amazing. They showed none of it. They run to under the ship and fade to black. That just hurts my heart. Number 7, the everyone turns blue mechanic when your shield is on. I think that's really suboptimal. Number 8, with all the times that they hyped the sphere of combat, they were like, ships will be shooting SRVs. SRVs will be shooting people. People will be shooting ships. Like, all of this stuff is going to be in our first-person shooter gameplay. In all of the FPS stuff that they've shown us thus far, including this video, we've seen 0 of that. We've seen 0 people shooting at an SRV. We've seen 0 SRVs shooting at fuck all. We've seen 0 ships shooting at an SRV or people. Like, we just haven't seen it. Why? If that's the big thing that you're basing this on, that you're saying our FPS is different because other people, have FPS, but it's just people shooting people. We have this integrated system of ships and SRVs and people, all unit types shooting each other in a big orgy of destruction. How come we're not seeing any of that? Number 9, for the few fucks I give about FPS, I sure would love some content on scavenging or hacking or exobiology or walking around and doing stuff in stations. These are all things I would have loved to have seen. And number 10, the alpha starts on March 29th. I would love to know how many alphas and betas there are going to be and for how long each. Let's just, as an example, throw out that there's 2 alphas and 2 betas, and that each of the 2 alphas and 2 betas run for 2 weeks each. And that in between the 2 alphas and 2 betas, there's 2-week breaks to give the programmers, devs, time to incorporate the feedback that they got and tweak things based on both the verbal feedback that we're giving them on the forum saying, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed, but also based on the metric feedback that they're getting where they're saying, everyone's doing A, we need to try to funnel people into B, C, and D, or whatever. And again, this is just a speculation, but if there's 2 alphas and 2 betas, 2 weeks each, and 2 weeks between them to incorporate changes, that is a 16-week minimum from basically April 1st. So that puts you at late June, early July. Like, okay, when is launch going to be? Number 11, the loading on the ship wasn't even ready. Like, literally, they lied and said, we're on the ship when they clearly weren't, and they got left behind. And number 12, and this is a small nitpick, but recoil on a laser rifle is dumb. That's not how lasers work. That's how, a kinetic rifle would work for sure, but laser rifles wouldn't have recoil. So seeing that, I was kind of like, huh? That's weird. So those are things that I noticed that either I question something about or I worry about or whatever. Let's talk about the positives. The HUD actually looked really good. I dug that. I really like the way that they incorporated all of the different things. The set pieces were fucking fantastic. Knocked it out of the park, 100%. I think the actual FPS models themselves, the guys running around with guns, that to me looked like your standard FPS game from 7 years ago. I wasn't all that excited. It was just a thing. And then the blue shields were like, meh. But the set pieces, like when you go into the building and you see the buttons for the like cutting through the panels, and once you get in there and you access the machine, that was fucking incredible. The sound design, top notch, beginning to end. Whoever, like their sound team, they showed. There was that one black dude in the one video where they were showing sound stuff, a big guy, and he had an interesting name. I forgot. That guy, I fucking would love to see a dev diary with him. He's charismatic as fuck. He lights up his smile lights up the whole fucking room when he's talking about his job. You know, that guy loves his work, and that whole fucking team needs a raise because the Elite Dangerous sound team is, I think, for my money, show me somewhere like, maybe Square Enix, maybe whatever, but I think they're at or above the best in the business. Those guys could the sound team at Elite could go toe to toe with the sound team at EA with fucking 10 times the money and whatever. And I'll put my money on the sound team at Elite. They're fucking incredible. And I love those guys, and they are rock stars. The Planet Tech is point 16. The Planet Tech obviously is fucking amazing and incredible. Do me a favor, CONTROLLDON, put up the picture that I was talking about earlier. This comes courtesy of Commander Rini. I think was the first one that posted, and it got posted everywhere. I've seen it everywhere, but I think Rini was the one who actually took the picture. Here's a picture of what that planet Ville C4 looks like now, as opposed to what it's going to look like in Odyssey. Right there, if you're listening to this show, and I know you've heard me, talk a little bit of shit on concerns or this is dumb or how does that work or whatever. I'm a guy that I call it how I see it, flat down the line. And that right there, if the whole galaxy is going from looking like column A on the left to column B on the right, that is worth $40 to me, me personally, right there, even without anything else. So huge salute to, and that's a massive point to the Planet Tech team. Point 17, I love the interactivity that's shown of different things like the art cutter, the power link, the hacking, even though they didn't show the hacking, but I believe it's going to be there, the e-breach, all of the interactable red panels. There's a lot of neat. I'm not that big on shooting people in the face. I used to do it for a living. I don't like that in video games. What I like is the other stuff, but I love the running around and cutting open a panel and hacking a machine and the stealth stuff. I love all that shit. That's awesome. And this looks good. That part looks really, really good. Part 18. Even with all the edits, they did show us something that was close to gameplay. I don't call that gameplay exactly, because that was gameplay that was, like I said, edited like a fucking music video to where like, what did I just see? But I mean, it was close to gameplay. It was, for me, gameplay would be put a guy on a fucking computer screen and let him play for 20 minutes. I want to see him go and buy ammo. I want to see him interact with his fucking his inventory slots. I want to see him get in the ship and out of the ship. I want to see, I just want to see unedited. I want to see the guy die and see how that plays through. I want to see all of the stuff. But this was still massively closer to anything that they've shown us thus far. So, okay. Number 19, absolutely. The biggest plus of this entire thing is that they gave a hard date and they said, on March 29th, we will give you alpha. And at that point, we can see for real what's what, because we'll see it for ourselves and we can stop guessing and wondering. So all in all, to be fair, the biggest gripes that I had could almost all be covered with short tweaks, or it could be, like, oh, we just need to tweak the AI a little bit better, or we need to tweak this and tweak that and change this and change that. Just a little smidge here and there, background stuff between now and March 29th. And some of them might not even be problems at all. It might be that the AI is fantastic and the people playing the game suck. So instead of having it be like live, die, repeat, where we watch Tom Cruise just fucking put his dick in the dirt over and over and over and over and over until he finally figures it out, they were like, hey man, we're going to splice this together to make it look like we're competent. And okay, in which case I'm happy. That's a good thing. So all in all, I feel like it's a pretty exciting, I'm pretty jazzed, I'm pretty excited and hyped, and like, okay, there's some stuff there that needs some polish, but what I saw was pretty good, and I'm happy. So we're going to roundtable this first, and then we're just going to open it up to general discussion. Let's start with Roy, and just your thoughts.
Well, first I'd point out to our listening audience that Kai's excellent sort of minute-by-minute breakdown is in the show notes with timestamps. So if you wanted to check in on any of that, please check the show notes, as well as the 19 other points he mentioned there for the feedback. I would start out by simply saying, for a while we've been asking for three things. Number one, let's hear from David Braben. Number two, can we see some gameplay? And number three, it's best when you actually talk to real devs about this stuff. And they did all three all in one day. I mean, just right out of the gate, I'm very happy that played out that way. I think beyond that, yes, listening to you talk about, because obviously you have, military combat experience, and listening to you sort of break down how the hapless CMs tried to do tactics, it comes across as like a Benny Hill movie or something. I kind of would characterize what they have done as sort of a dramatic reenactment of what a mission might be, using the available assets they had, which it sounds like, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it could be that the longest clip we saw was how long the game was either playable or they died repeatedly, or some combination of the two. The only issue I would have with, and even like I think I mentioned to you earlier, they look like Jason Nesbitt from Galaxy Quest, continually rolling from cover to cover as they're walking in. And yeah, that was kind of funny. But if what they were demonstrating is actually something that would be useful when they're in a mission with all of those mechanics turned on, then I'm okay with that. Certainly it could be done, perhaps better tactically than they did it. But again, it was to try to, I think it was sort of like just, we always talk about headcanon, and it was like they were sharing the headcanon with us using the available assets. So I'm cool with that. One of the things I would point out, I was a bit the way he went in and just sort of offed the workers in the
just straight up murdered them. Yeah,
that to me was sort of a bit of cognitive dissonance in how they were handling the mission. I mean, obviously in this game you can do assassination missions and murder people, but it would have seemed more in line with a stealth mission if there'd been some kind of mechanic to non-lethally take those people down. And lots of games have lots of examples of that, so I don't need to belabor it. It's just, that's going to seem like a bit of a drag if that's your only choice. Either run around and do electronic spoofing or murder people, and there's no sort of in-between way to stealth incapacitate people. Maybe that comes out and they just didn't show. I don't know.
I mean, but at the same time, if you get tasked with a mission and you're inserted into Liberia and they're making yellow cake uranium, and your job is to kill everybody in the facility and then get rid of all of the stuff, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to do the job.
They have a variety of different mission types and game loops. I could certainly see that. I could also see there's a lot of games where I've played the stealth mechanic where I enjoy the challenge of, and they actually said in the live stream that there are going to be bonuses in some missions for not killing anybody, even assassination missions if you only kill the target. So I'm just curious if I don't think there's any argument that there's game loops in other games where it's advantageous to not kill anybody. And I'm just curious why they didn't have that apparently in this one, given that it was up until that point they seemed to be going way over the top to demonstrate stealth mechanics. Even if in the game, and then they left that one out. So
you know what I'm actually curious about now. If they had stealthed in, right, and walked right up to that panel that did the atmosphere, and he had dropped the e-breach on the panel to vent the atmosphere, because he was wearing a helmet, as was his buddy. Zac and Bruce were wearing helmets, but the two guys in the building weren't. If you murder people by venting the atmosphere, do you still get the murder fine? Because you didn't technically kill him. It was the lack of air in the room that killed him.
Yeah, I've seen here in the Twitch chat here, Beyond Aeon had an interesting suggestion. Like, maybe they could go into the control room and just order the workers out. I mean, if commandos show up with guns and you're unarmed workers in some sort of science job, are you going to stand around there? Or if they say get the heck out, you're going to get the heck out? Like, that could be a mechanic as well, even though it could set off the alarm and so forth. It's another way there's lots of ways to handle that.
Also, not for nothing, you could shoot them with a fucking trank gun. I'm sure they have trank guns in the 33rd century, or set phasers to stun bullshit or whatever.
Yeah, maybe you should just shoot at the ceiling and they start running. I don't know. I'm curious. One mechanic we didn't see, and although they had talked about it in the live stream, and I think previously with the death mechanic, I'm wondering if there's going to be anything to do with these med packs where you can help other members of the team, or
revive
if it's solely a solo venture. If you got a med pack, you can boost your health. If you got med packs, can you help your buddy? knockdown. I don't know. That'd be a cool squad mechanic. I don't know if I haven't seen anything on that. I guess I'd wrap up by saying I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine when we saw lots of questions. We'll see it in the alpha. I give them a big kudos for like giving it the college try. I think they took the same spirit as they did with the sort of Ron Burgundy newscast and sort of tackled this thing as best they could. Who knows what kind of triage they're running, trying to get the assets and the people and everything together when they're all remote, or one guy can go in and can't stand close to somebody else, and who knows? There's all kinds of complications there, I'm sure. So, but I'm glad they did it. I'm glad we saw it. The thing that's still kind of a big question for me that I'll be very interested to see in the alpha is kind of like, what are they hanging their hat on? Is this simply a pretty good shooter within a space game, or is there aspects? I think we've seen some hints of aspects of it that might be superlative, like sound design, for example, or just the fact that this is being placed into an end-to-end galaxy simulation. Those are nothing to sneeze at. But is there anything else? They had previous, whether I think it was the dev stream where they're showing the videos of shooting real weapons and putting that into sound design, or I kind of think about, for example, Valheim, the survival game that's shot to fame. Presumably, and I think our guest could actually talk a bit about this since he's going to be streaming it, but the way I understand it, one of the ways that they've really captured that market is by taking out things that are annoying in survival games and leaning into things that are fun in survival games. And I'm just curious. I've been interested ever since I heard about Odyssey of what is going to be FDev's special stamp on FPS? Is it going to be a watered down Me Too product, or are there going to be aspects of it that are actually unique and interesting just as an FPS? It doesn't have to be the thing that's going to shoot to the top of the esports league, but there could be some fun things they put in that you don't see in other FPSs, and I'm still curious to see what those are going to be.
Right on. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Arson, you're up.
Oh boy, do I have a lot to say. I guess I'll start with yeah, I guess I'll start with the first part is, obviously the AI was lackluster, and I have some specific things that what they did in the video showed does not exist, and based off how they talk about the AI, I would expect these things to exist. And that being, the guard will walk up to you and scan you and make sure you're clean. Okay, well, if we're going to see that kind of behavior, then I'm going to expect the guards to, I don't know, maybe have somebody stationed at the landing pad, seeing people when they disembark and greeting and scanning them. If they see people loitering in front of their reactor building, maybe send somebody over there to say what's up. Install some security cameras, maybe. Just things like that for a little bit more immersion. I would even like to see guards be sent out of the facility to approach ships that land not on the pad but outside. Just be like, hey, what's up? What you guys doing here? But as far as all the takes of it goes, based off of what I saw, I don't believe that it is an issue of crashing. I think that it's more of an issue of trying to record live gameplay in a coherent thing and suffering from the fact that you're not familiar with all of the game mechanics. For instance, the initial shot where they're going in, they probably spent a whole bunch of time lining it up and like, okay, we've done our practice. And then they got down there and they realized that they were wanted and got shot down. That's my guess on the first one. And I believe things and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, maybe. 100%. Maybe.
One of the other things that stuck out to me that you said, Kai, was the shields. I have a love-hate with it. Love on the sense that I look forward to being able to get a vanity color for it. Hate it because it kind of really removes all of your other customizations from combat visuals. So maybe it should be toned down a little bit. But from a stealth perspective, I find it really, really interesting because if you are wanted and you are trying to sneak around, maybe having your shield on causes guards to pay attention to you and come check on you. If that's the case, people trying to stealth around a base and stay hidden because they're wanted murderers aren't going to be running their shields, so maybe you can get a drop on them while they're still stealthed. So I could see some really interesting scenarios that could play out from that if the light generated by those shields is utilized in such a way. Which then makes me think of the next thing with the death mechanics and the concept of pushing people to orbit when you kill them. There's a lot of awesome PvP capabilities there. You're going to want air support in the air if you are in open in areas where other people are going to be. And then also for this, the death mechanics, I really hope there is a knockdown mechanic. And I bring this up because I used to play Star Wars Galaxies and a couple other games that when you died, you would be on the ground. Now you could, just wait and see if somebody would revive you or drag your corpse away or what have you, or you could just kind of tap out and respawn. I hope that there's a knockdown mechanic because if you have it, the scenarios that can play out from it are just immense, whether it's being revived by a friendly or potentially an enemy, or, oh, we got in a firefight, I got the drop on somebody, I scared them, they popped me, and then they talk to me while I'm down and realize, okay, they're not actually hostile, I'll wake you up, Like, there's so many things that can happen with that, so I really hope that that knockdown mechanic is there or is added. I have other things, but I'll wait till later, because I'm very yappy. This is exciting to me.
So just as a heads up, because both you and Roy have mentioned the death mechanic and whatever, later in that stream that accompanied that video, they actually had Gareth Hughes in, and interestingly or funny enough, Gareth basically said exactly what we said last week. If you notice, last week we said, hey man, this whole, one of our community or discussion topics last week was like, dude, don't worry about the death mechanic. It's not that big a deal. It'll probably be that you either revive at your ship or you revive at the last station you were at. And they asked Gareth, they were like, hey, can you tell us how the death mechanic's going to work? And he's like, yeah, sure. The way it works is you're going to either revive at your ship or revive at the last station you were in. Apparently, if you came in a ship, you're actually going to have the option. So if you came in a ship, they're going to say, hey, what do you want? Do you want to revive in your ship or at the last station? If you came via the intergalactic taxi service, it's going to just throw you to the last station. But it's that was a very cool additional thing that was said in the stream that accompanied that video. Rear Admiral Flaps, you were up.
Well, I'm pretty much going to agree with what both of you guys have already said. Although I'm going to highlight just some things I had sort of found out or sort of came across anyway. The game, it does look absolutely fantastic. I have to agree. The terrains, the environments, absolutely everything spot on. I have no gripes with it whatsoever. From the trailer that we've seen, I got a lot of Mass Effect vibes from it. I don't know if anyone else sort of got Mass Effect vibes from it, but I sort of got a bit of a Mass Effect vibe from it. Me being a Mass Effect fan, I was like, yeah, okay. But at the same time, as we've already mentioned, the AI, okay, fair enough. It's been a pre-alpha build, and there's going to be a lot of changes made and blah blah blah. But the point I want to make is, if they're going to give us an alpha build on the 29th, surely it would be in their best interest to show us that full alpha build, not something that was done months and months and months ago. So why did we get that thing that was months and months and months ago that's been heavily edited, as you have pointed out? Why not just show us what we're getting in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time? That for me is just a bit of a red flag. Just, okay, why that? I found that some of the animations were a little bit jerky, but again, it's an early build. I can sort of get over that. One thing I did see that none of us have mentioned so far is, have we noticed the glass effects on the helmet as you're walking around, watching the sun reflect off the helmet? That was a nice little subtle touch that I quite like.
Yeah, you would get that weird sort of halos around the outside, the far extremes on the right and left side. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, that to me, I was like, it's very subtle. You wouldn't notice it as much, but you know, as the game progresses, the more you play it and play it and play it, that's going to be like, that's a nice little touch. We've mentioned this. I think we've mentioned this, or somebody's mentioned this in the chats, possibly. Non-lethal takedowns. Non-lethal takedowns. Is that going to affect your crime? You know, or are you going to get a fine for a non-lethal takedown? Is that actually going to affect you, or will you be able to progress through the mission and stuff? I think that's been answered already. One thing I mentioned as well is what's stopping a commander from sitting in an Anaconda above a base and just carpet bombing the whole thing? I know they said they had great base defenses.
We haven't seen them yet.
But we haven't seen them yet, exactly. But what if say, for example, I dropped you off a couple of kilometers outside the base, you walk into that base, you disable the defenses by taking down a power grid or whatever it may be, and I carpet bomb the whole thing. Where's the challenge? On foot ganking, is that going to be a thing? You're going to have people just chilling out in bases, just ganking you as you go to walk in a base? Is that?
Or I think more so, have people chilling out near the scavenging places. So you go to scavenger wreck and they're like, haha, you're in your scavenging suit. Pew pew, motherfucker.
They'll gank wherever the new engineers are, I would imagine, if they're on a settlement.
Oh, that too.
Locus to draw people, because you know there'll be a flow of people all the time.
Yeah,
true.
Absolutely. You know, and you know, it is a concern because for me, I'm not good at ship combat. I'm a wee bit better at FPS. I'm a wee bit more confident in my skills there, but in ship combat, I'm never good at. So I'm not a fan of gankers personally. But it is a bit of a concern. Ship launch fighters giving covering fire as you're attacking a base. That would be nice. I would like to see some of that. I think you know, if you were to get a couple of SLFs, bomber style FLS, could be quite a cool mechanic. And storylines. I would like to see some storylines around those bases. Like there needs to be something along the lines of story to really attract you into going to do that mission, for example.
Hell yeah.
You guys think?
Or have somebody drive an Amtrak right up to that fucking door. In the Marines, we called them Amtraks, the armored personnel carriers. Have someone pull right up and then you hop in and then drive off instead of running through two separate kill funnels.
That would be pretty awesome, to be fair. If you had some sort of armored car and you just bounced into it and 4 just bounced out and just absolutely wreaked havoc.
Yeah, man.
What I know they mentioned this in the stream, but I'm really quite confused in how this is going to affect it. They're talking a lot about the BGS is going to be very, very important to what missions is actually given to us at any given time. So, you know, they're saying that some of the factions, if you're not allied with a faction, you're not going to get a certain mission. Is that going to then hinder you for then achieving later on objectives? You know, you're trying to collect, say, for example, a S.A.P core, and you have to go to a certain base to go get that, but you're not very good at FPS games. So then how do you get that? By influencing the BGS? You know, those sorts of things.
Yeah, well, there'll be mission givers at all the different bases, and you could also find where those mission givers exist in other stations in that system, and you could do the space side of it if that's what you're better at. You could do that. Yeah,
there's still some questions that I have, but overall, I think I agree we're definitely on the right track. My biggest gripe with the whole thing is, why not show us something? If you're going to release it to us in 3 weeks' time, why not show us something a wee bit better than what they did? That's my biggest gripe with the whole stream. But at the same time, I'm very, very, very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, man. I completely get where you're coming from. If we're 3 weeks away from launch, that means, you know, you would think you're going to show us all the stuff before alpha, right? So if we're 3 weeks away from alpha, that means we should see scavenging. We should see hacking. We should see getting in and out of the ships. We should see exobiology. We should see, as you just said, where you're like, I'm worried about how the mechanics of the stuff in the stations are going to work. We should see people running around in the stations. And actually, because they showed us a very brief video clip in Dev Diary 2 of, some key set pieces, but like, I want to see how you book a taxi. I want to see how the front lines works. I want to see how the Vistas, Verdant Vistas or whatever works. I want to see how the, ship purchasing and all this stuff you want to see in those stations.
Exactly. For me, I work in like the audio visual business, like in real life, and one of the big things that we always talk about is detail. Show the detail. If it, don't just show a generated clip that is designed to sell you that product. Show us the detail. Show us why we should buy that product over the next product along down the line, i.e., Star Citizen, for example. That's the kind of thoughts that I have. And one last thing that I want to sort of highlight as well is there's very, very low penalties for breaking laws. So if I go and shoot a civilian, as you've mentioned, I get a lesser fine than going and trespassing somewhere. Where's the incentive to not just run into that base and just kill everything? Why am I not getting fined heavier to take me away from just running into a base, to actually sit back with my friends and say, hey guys, we need to sit and think. Like, this is what I do with my friends in Valheim. We sit with my friends and we say, we can't beat this base, or we can't get into this crypt or whatever. We need to think about what we're doing here. Let's take 10 minutes and strategize something. But if there's no penalty, or a very low penalty for actually going in and just fucking up a whole base, what's the point?
Right on. I dig it. I would love to see a situation where you go in and murdered these two people that worked in the power core building, and then all of a sudden you find out that their family put a fucking hit out on you. Like, go get that guy. He just murdered my mom. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Tweet, your thoughts.
All right, I see what you did. Save me till last. That's not a bad idea. Okay, off the bat, to battle a couple of points right now before I forget them. To the why didn't we get to see the alpha play? My bet, and I don't buy this excuse all the time, but that would assume that they would have been recording this within the last couple of weeks. I'm betting they've been working on this for months to get all that edit, to get a coherent story, quote unquote, story of the mission together. And I'm betting the alpha wasn't ready yet. That's why we're getting the pre-alpha gameplay footage. And the other thing, the recoil on the laser gun, that is such a trivial point. I could not care less if there's recoil on my laser rifle. I really couldn't. That is not going to affect how much fun I have with this one way or another. Now, on the overall thing, I'm going to hit my points that concern me on the video first. One, I did not get to see the ship come from outer space into atmosphere, nor did I see it leave atmosphere and go into space. I am very curious as to what that's going to look like, very excited to see what that's going to look like. Maybe they didn't show up because it's alpha. Maybe they didn't show up because they want to save it for when you actually get your hands on it. But that part concerns me a little tiny bit. Also concerning was when they were running back to the ship and you saw that little blue, I don't know what you want to call it, little blue, come here to line your SRV up and we'll suck you up into the ship, for them running to board the ship. I hope to hell that is not how we board our ships. That will be heartbreaking if that is the case. That said, all in all, I'm very excited with what I saw. I actually think you missed a couple of little tiny details right at the beginning of this video, Kai, that you just overlooked because you were busy focusing on the bumbling gameplay of the devs, which we know they're not great elite players. They don't play it the way we do, so I ignored what they were doing, really. The first thing I noticed when they were exiting the ship and running was footprints in the sand. Love it. I noticed the sand blowing in the wind. Love it. The blue skies. Love it. The in space, actually, I guess that would be the first thing I noticed. The blue aura over the planet. Can't beat it. Looks absolutely fantastic. The art cutter to cut open that panel, that looks fun as hell. And I would contend, I don't know that it's a one push button kind of functionality to it, because I would contend in Elite Dangerous, nothing is that simple. Absolutely nothing in this game is push one button and you're done. So I don't know that that's going to be that way at all. The AI, yeah, I agree that the AI was problematic. It was not smart. But there's a couple of things that I think you have to take into effect when you're looking at this AI. One, pre-alpha. Two, this planet, if I'm not mistaken, is outside of the bubble. So yes, it's a military settlement, but it's a military settlement outside of the bubble that's not well supported. They didn't have vehicles. They didn't have guards all over the place or anything. So they're probably not going to have the top AI, top guards in the galaxy on that particular settlement. With the AI difficulty, I imagine, much like we do in our ships, if you are a harmless pilot in a ship and you go into a Hazres or a CZ even, you're going to come up against mostly harmless ships. They match your skill level. I'm betting it's going to be the same way when you're on the ground. Those AIs are going to match your skill level. As you level up, you'll get harder ones. The AI also, they have told us, difficulty level will be dependent on the BGS. How strong is that faction? How is the population? How strong is that faction's BGS? That is going to help determine the strength of the ground forces. I think you have to take all of these things into account when you're looking at this bubbling AI that we saw in this pre-alpha and give them the benefit of the doubt. I think it's going to be better. I think they know it would have to be better than what we saw. And I think they've got plenty of time. I mean, you got an alpha coming out in 3 weeks. You'll get your hands on it. You'll see what it is. And then who knows when the game actually, when Odyssey actually gets full release to you guys. And they've got until fall or so for console. So I really don't worry about the AI. I think the AI intelligence is something that programmers can dial in as it goes along. That's one of the things that you guys are going to be testing in the alpha. And I believe they'll be tweaking it as they go. As I also think the fines, the 250 credit fine for murdering, which is less than the trespassing, that kind of stuff they can easily adjust through the alpha. So all of the things that concern me, I think they can really fix. If they haven't already, I think it's really easy for them to adjust that kind of stuff. The important thing about what we saw was the gameplay, the co-op mission with friends. Physical multi-crew. He landed and the people got off his ship. We can't do that right now. The ability, if you've ever played Red Dead online and you take a mission and you go ride into Valentine and something goes wrong and you end up in a shootout with the whole town, that can be some of the most fun video game times in a long time. I think we're going to have an opportunity for the same kind of thing with this. Something goes wrong on one of these missions and you and your 2 buddies or 3 buddies are holed up in this settlement trying to shoot your way out. That's going to create some amazing gameplay opportunities.
Okay. That's true. CONTROLLDON, do me a favor, please, and put up the actual video. So for those of us that have heard all of the talking and we went point by point, while we do this roundtable discussion and just finish up talking about it, we're going to go ahead and have CONTROLLDON pull up and play the video without sound so they can watch it. All right. So now, did you have any other points tweaked that you wanted to add before we get to other people adding just roundtable? We're just going to talk about it.
Go ahead. We'll just go around.
All right. So first up is Arson. He had some points.
Yeah, should I? Do I start with the ganking or the role play of the crime and punishment? I guess I'll start with the role play of the crime and punishment, because Flaps, you had mentioned earlier what's the incentive, and I think personally, from my perspective, my understanding of the lore in the Elite universe is essentially that life is somewhat considered worthless. Yeah, cheap. And yeah, exactly. And I think that what they are trying to communicate with us or to us through the way the crime and punishment works, which, by the way, if you notice, it's not the people that they're killing reporting the crimes, it's all of the equipment that you're carrying on you that's linked to the Pilots Federation systems and all of that stuff, all those data things. It's setting yourself for crimes, which from a role play perspective, and this is theory. I don't know, as far as I'm aware, Frontier hasn't explicitly said this is what's happening, but from a roleplay perspective, I see that as we having been a certain generation of pilots, we've been locked on our ships. Our computer systems are controlled by people that are not us. We don't get to go places unless they tell us we can go there. And now we're finally allowed to get off of our ships, and our ships are still going to have situations where it will not let us off in certain circumstances. So based off the fact that you also have the fact that commanders in general or independent star pilots are kind of looked at with suspicion and maybe a little bit of fear and things like that in lore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these kinds of penalties for crimes are part of, that club master plan. Okay, we want to make sure that the general population is not really going to want to trust these people because A, they're going to be more inclined to murder people when they're doing stuff, and B, we have organizations making decisions at the top, sending these people to go do all kinds of nefarious things to your settlements. So I don't know. That's just some tinfoil hattery from me there.
Yeah, you had a point on ganking before we go, because Flaps and Roy are next, but you had a point on ganking.
Yeah. So the ganking thing is essentially, it's going to happen. In fact, I believe that at least for a time, the gankers are going to put aside their ships for the most part, and want to engage people on foot, because you're going to get some pretty visceral reactions from people in firefights on the ground, which I think is going to be awesome in my opinion. I can't wait to have a ganker try and kill me. But the interesting thing though is the whole being pushed to orbit when you die, because you can either respawn on your ship. Remember, they say your ship. They didn't say on the ship that dropped you off. They said your ship. So you have to have a ship to respawn in orbit of the planet you die on, unless you spawn at a port on the planet, I assume. But one of the things that they don't cover with that is whether or not your ship follows you. Because you can release your ship from wherever you're at, dismiss it, and it'll fly away. Will it be summonable when you, I don't know, catch a ride with a friend and they take you 1,000 light years and you get out? Can you summon your ship? But with that pushing mechanic, pushing people to orbit, it's going to make it really, really important to, one, not expose your ship on the ground. Because if you leave your ship parked on the ground, now the ganker arrives after you because maybe they followed you down. They give you enough time to land, get out. They blow up your ship on the way in. They land, they get out of theirs. They dismiss theirs. Now the two of you fight on foot. Loser gets pushed to orbit, except you left your ship exposed, so you're actually pushed to station. So you're going to have to take those kinds of things into account. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see the combat tactics evolve and whether or not people will be even willing to land in certain areas that are really populated, like farming sites for resources, because they don't want to be pushed to a station, things like that.
What about people using the push to orbit as a shortcut? I got a mission not to steal the power core. I got a mission to come into a base and shoot Arson in the back of the head. I walk into the middle of the base. I stealth in past all of the guards, walk right up to Arson, shoot him in the back of the head, and then just turn around and let the guard shoot me. And boop, that's a shortcut. Now I'm back up in orbit with my ship ready to fly in and turn in. Like, ooh, that could be unintended there could be unintended consequences there.
I think Gareth said if you die, you fail the mission. He did say that. I don't know what the context was, but
sure.
Yeah, you also don't get to keep anything in your inventory when you die. Now, whether that's includes the equipment you brought into battle with you, I'm curious about that.
I think they did say. I think they said that you will lose the stuff that you had on you, the equipment you had on you.
Yeah.
So it is everything, because I personally find that awesome.
It's interesting because I think there's going to be some people that are salty as fuck if they found out that they spent a day or two doing grinding engineering for 7 or 8 different aspects of their suit and weapon, and then died on their first mission and lost it all.
No,
Like,
they specified that it wasn't going to be your guns. It was the stuff in your backpack, not your guns.
Okay, cool. That's better. I must have just, brain freezed on that part. So Flaps is up next. He had a question.
Yeah, it was just pretty much answered the question, but there was 2 ways to look at it. They said that the BGS would scale to make certain missions more difficult. But put yourself in this situation. You're in a big squadron, very powerful squadron, say for example Darkway, Laslings, Angels, those sorts of squadrons. And you decide to take on a mission, you're solo and you decide to take on a mission, but it's super fucking hard. You're shit at FPS games. What do you do at that point? Yes, okay, you can call your squadron to come and help you, but you don't really like to do that. You want to try and do it yourself. Where do you go in that sense? That's a little bit of a concern.
You'll fail the mission, just like you do if you take a Threat 6 Assassinate Pirate mission in your ship and somebody tries to go do it in their engineered Cobra. They're going to get blown out of the sky. They're going to get turned to space dust. And if you fail that mission and it hurts the influence. It'll be the same thing on the ground.
Flaps, what do you do? Who do you talk to? If you know where to find them, you call the A-team.
Yeah, absolutely. But my concern would be just, I know of a few people who don't really like FPS games. And they've said to me that they're a wee bit concerned of, if I don't like the FPS mechanic, I just don't like that sort of thing, and I want to continue doing the scientific side of things and blah, blah, blah. Is there certain missions that I'm going to have to do in FPS to go and fight somebody, to go and do this, that, and the other, to get the item that I want or need, rather than going and doing something else and doing something entirely different and missing out on it?
The answer is yes. You are going to have to do something.
The answer is no.
No, you're just wrong, Tweaked. Here's why. The answer is
you
yes.
go, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
All right. I'm going to go. I'm going to go, and then you're not going to get a turn. So the reason why I'm right is because for certain items, if you're talking about a piece of gear or an engineering material that is tied to your suit, it's tied to the ground gameplay. There are some things that you're going to need to do ground gameplay, ground scavenging, ground missions to get access to. Just the same way,
but not necessarily combat.
Let me finish my point, man. Just the same way as that there's stuff that is going to be sort of exclusive to the ship side. Now, yes, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to have to be combat. It could be that it's scavenging. It could be that it's other things. But anytime you're running around on foot, you have the chance of engaging in non-consensual combat, whether it's from NPCs that could be pirates at a scavenging thing, or players that are waiting to gank people, as we just said, at different locations. So yes, there are going to be some times that you have to engage in on-foot gameplay, and that's going to put you at a risk for engaging in ground combat. But in those cases, you can either A, try to mitigate that as much as possible, try to pick certain mission types where it's less likely that you'll do combat. B, try to take a friend. C, if you're sort of shit at whatever, try to stack the odds in your favor, i.e. if you're flying around a scavenging area and you see 4 or 5 guys in SRVs or on foot, setting up to ambush people, fly around and shoot them with your fucking ship, and then land real quick and go in there and get your stuff and run away.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Tweaked.
All right. This is why I think you're wrong. I mean, yes, you're right. If you're in open and you're
that's it. We're done. Good night, folks.
And you're doing a scavenger mission in open, there's a chance that another player could come and find you. But to his point of asking if you're going to have to do a certain type of mission, no, I don't think you are, because in the game now, If you are doing a Imperial grind rank up mission and the first mission that comes up that you need to do is a combat mission, but you're not built for that, you can go to a different station, or you can wait 10 minutes for the mission board to flip, and then the next one comes up as a courier mission that ranks you up just the same. So I think it's going to be the same way on the ground. You won't have to do the FPS if you don't want to in this game. You don't have to do any combat in this game now if you don't want to. You can go out in the black and never see another ship for your whole time playing this game if you want to.
Yeah, and courier missions, as we all know with our spaceships, they never ever send people after you with the courier mission, NPCs, to shoot at you. Like, that's the point that I'm making. There's always a risk, but you can mitigate it with certain things. All right, we are over time, so Roy, you're going to get to close us out. No, okay, we're going to go Roy, and then we're going to go Arson. For realsies, we're done. You had a point, Roy, on 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, so, it's been mentioned a couple times, like, why didn't they show us something more advanced if there's only 3 weeks left? I think there was 2 things in the live stream that spoke to that. And I'd add, if you've only seen the video and haven't watched the live stream and you have concerns or you're just curious, watch the live stream. It changed my opinion of what I saw in the video. Seeing not just David Braben in the video, but seeing Gareth and you get a lot of feedback by watching someone's face and how they answer questions, and genuinely the content of what he said was very rich. I think he said something and Art said something that speak to this 3-week thing, and it was that there are things changing very rapidly. So there are bugs. Gareth said something to the effect that, look, there are bugs getting fixed every day. So I would imagine that it's not that things are almost baked. I think they're in a crunch, not an unhealthy sweatshop kind of crunch, but they're in a crunch and stuff's finally coming to fruition kind of all at once over the next 3 weeks. I think they're going to be down to the wire, and there's going to be stuff happening right up until they launch the alpha. Art did also say this wasn't the last, I forget the exact words, but the impression I got was this isn't the last sort of let's play video we're going to see before alpha. So I would expect to see if with Garrett is said is right, if his prediction is right that there's things being knocked off the list every day, then we should see market improvement, even if there's like one of these a week, or even if there's only one more of these, there's going to be a big, the way they're saying it, there's going to be a big shift in improvement.
Oh, there needs to be like one of these a week for the next 2 weeks, because there's so much shit they haven't shown. No scavenging. Yep. We haven't seen it. What an SRV does in combat, we haven't seen it. What these air defenses do, we haven't seen it. What the hacking does, we haven't seen it. What the exobiology is, we haven't seen it. Like, yeah, there needs to be these.
My guess is there's punch lists on all these things, and it's going exponential, the number of things that are getting fixed, because they're all coming to fruition at the same time. So it's going to radically change how this looks in 3 weeks.
All right, Arson, last point. Go for it.
On the combat bit, I just wanted to point out that on the stream that they did yesterday to release this video and content for us, they did explicitly specify that you will be able to choose your activities and based on what you pick up and where you go, and just like we can now. And if you look at your left HUD in the game when you're approaching various things in Super Cruise, it gives you an icon saying, hey, this is going to be a combat activity, or hey, this is a salvage activity. So that is going to translate over into Odyssey, and they've explicitly said it. So I think those that don't want to engage in the combat aspect but want everything else, don't stress out about it. You're going to be able to have the choice, and just like you do now, occasionally you will get that unwanted combat, whether it's NPC or player if you're an open or whatnot. But you're going to be able to mitigate those risks by making choices like you already do.
Right on. I know I said that was the last point, but Tweak put in a point. We're going to let him go, and then for sure we're done. Go.
Well, just here, and don't get me wrong, I'd like to see all these things. I really would. I'd like to see scavenging. I'd like to see some walking around the stations. But we don't have to see it. If the alpha comes out in a couple of weeks and it doesn't have some of that stuff, and then another alpha comes out and it does have it, there's no law that says a video game company has to show you everything that's going to be involved in that game before it comes out. That never used to be a thing, and it's not a thing with most other games. So I contend they don't have to show us that stuff. It can just be in the game when it comes out, and then we'll go figure it all out.
Yeah, I mean, they could skip that if they just want to be really bad at marketing. Sure. Yeah. All right. That is it. But we're not gonna do state of the game right now. What we're gonna do is state of your thoughts on this video. So just and not just the video, but the stream that accompanied it. Because you're right. I think that video would have put me at about a 6 to 7. The stream that accompanied with it and the date of March 29th puts me at a fucking hard 10 out of 10. I am happy. I am ready. Roy, where you at?
It's a 10. They did what we asked for, and yeah, there's lumps and wrinkles, but it's going to get better.
Arson, where you at? You're muted.
All I can think about is muting myself in Odyssey. I am very excited to get into the beta, and I am planning on making a bunch of content around testing it when it drops. So,
right on.
Excited.
Right on. Control, I'm inviting you in on this. Where are you at?
Yeah, of course I'm excited too. I'm gonna buy the thing. I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna.
Right on. And Flaps.
Everything I've said has been nitpicking. I just want to point that out. But I'm at a solid 8 or 9. Like, from what I've seen, I've said it before, I am extremely excited. Everything that I've all the negative points that I've came up with, it is nitpicking. It is nitpicking at the same time. Yeah, solid 8 or 9.
I mean, I nitpicked the fuck out of it, but then I also said I was, what I was excited by. And for me, like I said, the nitpicks, they weren't things that I'm sure I don't like. They were things that I question and I'm like, ooh, I wonder about that. But because I'm going to be able to touch it on March 29th and see, that's why I'm at a 10. And if you noticed, I segregated out tweaked from everybody.
Here's a question.
Go ahead.
Imagine they had have done that stream yesterday and they said, okay, you can play the alpha June 29th. What would your thoughts have been?
At that point, I would have been at about like an 8-ish, because I would have been like, okay, so right off the bat, sort of what you said, where it's going to be release, like, because that's when they said the release was going to be around by May 29th or. Yeah, see, this is weird because already
I think Q1 at the start.
Well, yeah, they said first they said December 2020, then they said Q1 2021. Then the last extension, the last delay was no for reals, these guys, because they said it to their stockholders. They said or shareholders or whatever you call that in England. They said by the end of the fiscal year, which is May 29th. So honestly, they're already blowing the by the end of the fiscal year for release. Oh, no, they're not necessarily, because it's March 29th that we're seeing this stuff. So, yeah. It'll
be tight. It'll be tight.
It'll be crazy tight. I don't think it's even doable. I think they're going to be pushing the actual release of Odyssey on PC past the May 29th date, in which case I say push it another month or two if you need to, and pull the console up a month or two now that you can, now that you're not up against that whatever, and let's get a fucking unified release again. So as I was saying, I had segregated out Tweak from everyone because we're all PC players and we're all getting this is the news, this is what you get to see, and here's your golden ticket date. You get to fucking play with it yourself on March 29th. We have to acknowledge the fact that there is an unfair disparity here for the console players, and that while they may have liked what they saw in the video, and while they may have liked the stream, and while they may have liked the whatever, they are getting treated second class here, and they're not getting it March 29th. So acknowledging all of that, Tweaked, where are you at with the state of the game, of the video there, of the stream that went along with it, and of the release dates, tentative, such as we know them so far?
Well, I would say I'd give it a 7. And that is because I think what we saw is a great starting point to what I hope Odyssey will allow Elite Dangerous to become. I love Elite as it is, and I think what I saw from the Odyssey video is going to turn it into what it does. The delay, the hard date, the March 29th date that you guys are getting actually makes me feel a little better, because at least I feel like there's a plan. We're moving forward again. We're not stuck in mud spinning in neutral, you know, it's
question marks. Yeah.
Right. There's a plan all of a sudden. So yes, it reopened the wound. I was a little salty last night. I mean, I was excited watching it. I found the parts of it that I didn't, you know, like I said, I was a little concerned about some things. And then I said, but goddamn, I wish I could play this in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be running courier missions or bounty hunting or doing the same thing I've been doing for 3 years. And it hurts. It does. But eventually it'll get to us. And as long as they get it right, and now we're finally moving forward, I'm pleased. It was, I think, seeing David Braben, I think to Roy's point, seeing David Braben really helped.
So Tweet, you and I have been butting heads on opinions tonight on a couple of different points. How do you feel about my opinion of, now that we know that there's a very good chance that we're going to miss the May date for PC, why don't you push PC back 2 months, pull console up 2 months, and let's do a fucking unified release?
At the risk of pissing off some PC players, I think, honestly, if they could do that, I think it would be best for everyone involved, because the extra 2 months would allow them to iron out any issues that they may be skipping over to rush out a release for you guys on PC. And pulling us up a couple months would be fucking wonderful. Excuse my language. That would be so amazing. Amazing. I'm expecting it November is when in my head I'm getting it. And if it came to me in September, I'd be thrilled. I'd be ecstatic.
Right on. All right, everybody. We're going to do what we did last week, and we're all going to say goodbye at the same time because it's weird and funny and kooky. So on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Be excellent to each other. CONTROLLDON, Peleus out.